all necessary steps to restore the inviolability of UNRWA's premises and refrain from taking any further action in line with its obligations under the UN Charter and its obligations under international law.
Recapping the top story, the National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola says they are making progress in the investigation into the assassination of Marius van der Merwe, or Witness D, as he was known in the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports headlines. Cricket action, the Proteas men opening their 5-match T20 series against India today. And we'll also bring you the news of Orlando Pirates ending 2025 as South Africa's undisputed team to beat. Details just before 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. The one standout for Joburg motorists today is the N1 North through Diepkloof. It's on our traffic radar pretty much on a daily basis. Very high volume route, and there are some delays. N1 up to Diepkloof and then very slow through the interchange as you line up and to get through to Uncle Charlie, saying connections on to the M1. Looking okay on the R21, Pretoria to the airport, the M1 South through Midrand, moving nicely as well. If you're Durban bound, having left Pietermaritzburg, just watch for a breakdown around the Cliffdale area, single lane being currently blocked off there. The N2 coming in from the south coast looks all right, up through Spaghetti Junction on your way to the airport. No major problems. That will change shortly, but at this stage it's okay. And coming out of Cape Town's Mitchell's Plain, still no traffic lights. M7 R300, the M7 North queuing quite heavily to get up through that junction already. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 6, today is Tuesday, the 9th of December, 2025. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief on SAFM. It is your trusted daily global positioning system, your GPS, in navigating through the stories that are shaping this country, the continent, and the world. From breaking global flashpoints to the pressures in our streets, our schools, our homes, and in our governance system. We cut through the noise and to bring you what matters most every morning in our daily conversation. It's curated, it's current, and it's conversation that counts. This is the Morning Brief. Good morning and welcome to it. Here's some of what we will tell you over the next 3 hours. Renew or perish. That appears to have been the common refrain on day one as the ANC opened its 5th National General Council in Boksburg in Gauteng. We also got an in-depth look of sorts at what ails the party, what actually ails the ANC. So we got an in-depth look as diagnosed by the ANC leadership itself. Disconnectedness and lack of rooting in communities. Service delivery failures, arrogant displays of opulence, an election machinery that never really got into top gear, plus a sense of denialism about the electoral realities pertaining at the time in the build-up to the 2024 elections. These are just some of the issues that have been identified by the ANC itself, as identified by the Secretary General Fikile Mbalula in his mid-term report. From having more than 1 million members at some point, the party now only has about 540,000 members in good standing. 540,000 in good standing. But they don't seem to be troubled by that figure, by the way. They don't seem to be troubled by it at all. They insist on the mantra of better, fewer, but better. So at the top of 7 a.m., we'll recap day one and also look forward to day two of the ANC's National General Council with Samgele Masego, senior political reporter here at SABC News. And then we will talk to Sandile Swana, the political analyst, who will then unpack it all for us, including some of the other themes, because there were so many themes that were coming out on day one. So we'll try and cover as much of that as possible. A fresh wave of deadly taxi violence in Johannesburg has reignited fears that the industry is once again sliding into open conflict. The Transport MMC for the city, Kenny Gunene, is calling for a national police task team. So as far as the policing model is concerned, I suppose something along the lines of the political killings task team is what Kenny Kunene is calling for. And this follows the assassination of yet another senior leader in the taxi industry. Rivalries seem to be deepening. Commuters and operators alike are left wondering and caught in the crossfire, really, and left wondering how long this cycle of violence will continue. The MMC Kenny Kunene is urging the president and the police ministry to form a national taxi task team. And some of the latest killings include that of Vusi Mayaba, the Alexandra Taxi Association chairperson, who was shot dead in Woodmead. And then you also had, that happened a couple of days after two taxi owners were killed, also in Midrand. And of course, who can forget the incident in October, the killing of Mulefe Moikeletsi and his bodyguard that were assassinated in October. So yeah, it doesn't seem to be there doesn't seem to be an end in sight to the taxi violence and the killings and what is to be done. We'll try and get a bit of a perspective on it and what the possible solutions and pathways to a solution are with Professor Marian van der Skuren, who is from the Center for Transport Studies at the University of Cape Town. And we'll have that conversation at about 7:15 this morning. The festive season is at hand, and naturally, that means more time on the roads for some of us. But law enforcement visibility is ramping up as well, and it always does around this time, which is actually a good thing. But what implications do intensified police enforcement activities have for your rights as a motorist? That is the question. When can officers, for example, arrest you on the spot or make you pay a spot fine? The answer to the latter question, the spot fine question, we are told, is never. Police are not ever allowed to make you pay a spot fine. That is the view, the considered view of a few legal experts who are weighing in on that issue. And they cannot arrest you for outstanding fines where there is no arrest warrant out. So that's what they're saying. We'll try and unpack it all. It's all quite quite a bit to navigate, and it's not helped by the nascent moves towards an administrative approach as opposed to a criminal approach in as far as traffic infringement enforcement law is concerned. You would have seen that there's a tendency to try and move away from criminalizing non-compliance and just trying to get you to deal with it administratively, impose inconveniences on you. Yes, that is the approach. Impose inconveniences on you that will force you to go pay your fines seems to be the preferred approach as we move towards the full implementation of the ARTO system. So we'll unpack all of that with the consumer law specialist, Fortune Cheho, and we'll have that conversation a bit later on in the show. The formidable Morning Brief team is at full strength once again, all locked and loaded with your essential updates throughout the morning. And Musa with news updates every half hour. Rob Byrne is watching traffic and giving you updates every 15 minutes or so. Zaikan with your sports update once every hour. Melissa Buta standing by with the Morning Brief in brief. Dauleng Lechela is always right on the money with her hourly updates on business, economics, and the markets. And Sipho Mantula will take you around the continent and her diaspora as much as possible in his Africa update coming up at about 20 to 7. Your calls 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The first hour of the Morning Brief on this Tuesday starts now.
This festive season, enjoy a province endowed with natural attractions, adventure, wildlife, and rich cultural heritage. Discover the ultimate wildlife experience that brings you closer to nature. Explore the breathtaking nature reserves dotted across Mpumalanga and the endless adventure and outdoor activities. Unwind on the spectacular landscapes and majestic waterfalls. Make Mpumalanga your holiday destination of choice. Mpumalanga, embrace the unknown, live the adventure. This message is brought to you by the Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency. Mpumalanga, the place of the rising sun. Visit mpumalanga.com for more information.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto and General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto and General, never not there. Auto and General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
If getting help from your bank means pressing 1, then 4, then 7, then 3, then 9 to hear the options again, perhaps the key to press is the red one. Then join Discovery Bank, where a single tap in the app intelligently connects you to the right banker for service like no other bank. Discovery Bank is a licensed FSP and Ask Africa's Best Banking Service winner.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
All right, let's start it off with Melissa Puta and the morning brief in brief. Melissa, good morning. So a court appearance and bail decisions for the 5 people accused of violating what's known as the Mercenary Act.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Yes, so the Kempton Park Magistrate Court has accused the Forestry Act were of court inter at inter of the travel to Russia via east is have recruit to the military. The court thousand rand, usually at 15,000 rand, and case file under Section 5, remaining at 5,000 or also from outside of and the case was the 10
And a breakthrough of sorts in the investigation into the killing of the man who was known as Witness D at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
Yes, so police have identified 3 persons of interest. That Ms. Maria Man, who was one individual for question. National Commissioner said investigation break fundamental was fund on Friday. Weeks earlier, he had APC case the have a TV was to the source disputing have can secure for the commission of so we hope that the
Yeah. And lastly, Melissa, when the please call me matter was settled, we thought it was perhaps the end of the legal battles for Nkosana Makata, but not yet. But this one has gone his way, hasn't it?
Yes, the Johannesburg by Errol and no time that face irreparable ruling to could be addressed through normal legal. But money course and he fully debt huge face what valid it all it's case actually 2 and 9 million go to up the court and payment how far this.
All right. Thank you for that. Melissa Puta with the morning brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, the Weather Service wants me to tell you about a yellow level 2 warning. It is for severe thunderstorms with heavy downpours, leading to localized flooding of susceptible roads, settlements, and low-lying bridges and areas. excessive lightning, large amounts of small hail and/or large hail in an open area, as well as strong damaging winds. All of that expected over the southwestern parts of the northwest, eastern and northern parts of the Free State, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, except for the extreme northeast of that province, Mpumalanga Highveld, and the escarpment areas, as well as the southwestern parts of Limpopo. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria will be fine at first, otherwise partly cloudy with scattered afternoon thunder showers, 16 to 31. Johannesburg, fine at first, otherwise partly cloudy with scattered afternoon thunder showers, 13 to 29. Vereeniging, same conditions, 15 to 30. Bombela, also same conditions, with a minimum of 17 and a maximum of 31. Polokwane will be fine, becoming partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 16 to 30. Same conditions in Mahikeng, 18 to 31. And then Bloemfontein will be fine, becoming partly cloudy, 17 to 33. Kimberley, also fine, becoming partly cloudy, 15 to 36. Uppington, fine, becoming partly cloudy, 20 to 37. Cape Town will be partly cloudy with a chance of light rain in the afternoon, 18 to 25. George will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain from the afternoon with a minimum of 14 and a maximum of 24. Gqeberha, partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain from late afternoon, 17 to 25. East London will be cloudy with morning fog. Otherwise, scattered afternoon showers and thunder showers can be expected with a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 25. Durban, partly cloudy with scattered afternoon showers and thunder showers, 20 to 29. Richards Bay will be fine, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 21 to 31. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy with scattered afternoon thunder showers, 17 to 30.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
Fresh fighting has erupted along the Thai-Cambodian border, shattering a fragile US-brokered ceasefire and pushing the two neighbors into their most dangerous military standoff in years. Thailand has now launched airstrikes. Civilians are fleeing in their tens of thousands, and both governments are trading sharp accusations. What began as a long-running border dispute has now spilled into full-scale regional concern and alarm. Let's speak to Professor David Munyai, Director of the Center for Africa China Studies, and that is at the University of Johannesburg. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time. So it wasn't
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
wasn't so long ago that this flared up and there was that intervention by the Trump administration. What are the implications of what we're seeing now for that fragile truce that was brokered by the U.S. president?
Now, it seems this is an unfinished business. It's unfortunate that President Donald Trump take stores its business, its huge uh, country, as well as the region. Both countries rely on them, and the impact it can have for regional powers is quite also huge. And therefore, the world is focused on so many other African continent is President Trump of Ukraine, and it is coming at a very terrible moment in world history. That we came up from.
And it's a long-running conflict, isn't it? And I suppose it was too much to expect that having run that long with the complexities of the two countries sharing a long border of some 817 kilometers, much of it contested, to think that it would have been resolved quite swiftly was perhaps, underestimating the complexities.
So indeed, I think the challenge they face more or less the one we face on that and each of uh, the French, the issue. And water was left with both with the fighting community, some places, more or less to resolve much uh, fine, mainly in case of Cambodia. When you look at the countries, Thailand is an upper hand. There's a much more stronger military economy doing much better compared to Cambodia. It's catching up. Also, the Thai more like they are Cambodia on China. Therefore, an element of politics.
And how important is the role of ASEAN regional countries in trying to contain the situation and perhaps work towards a more sustainable, resolution?
I think that's the best route they have. ASEAN plays uh, Malaysia in particular, much more stronger neighbor, regional. It's rising and wants to play a much more important regional conflict, as well as getting um, along with both China. Um, so chances are high that perhaps good be the way having mechanism of managing the borderline without also going to have end periodical layout.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time and your insights. That's Professor David Munyaye, Director of the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
All right, good morning. Let's start with news of cricket action today. And it's the Proteas men. They'll be taking on India. First T20 happening in Qatar this afternoon at 3:30. Proteas batter David Miller says he's putting his hands up for World Cup competition. It also says he knows that the places that are left going to be fierce with several young players producing big performances.
There's a lot of new players that are coming through and a big pool of players now that are doing really, really well. So, I feel like I can add a certain um, uh, part to the team with a lot of experience and and bring my expertise. And then, in terms of selection, there's always, you're never guaranteed with certain things in life. So I think it's just a conversation that will kind of unfold as the months go on, and see where we're at. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd love to be a part for South Africa as long as I can, but it's just being real with certain conversations.
On the soccer and Bafana assistant coach Helman Mkalele has seen FIFA and their decision to allow clubs to hold on to players until just 6 days before the AFCON 2025 kicks off. The ruling breaks from the long-standing policy of releasing players 14 days before major tournaments.
I would say it's totally unfair and also unacceptable because when you look at it, you're starting to make, like assumptions, saying that, FIFA, it really doesn't take African football too serious as they do with the Europeans. So you're starting to feel that you are more of less important than the other nations or the other leagues. But I believe that CAF will also needs also to make their point to FIFA, because really it can't go on like this. And that is why I said, I think CAF, they really need to get involved in everything, like even now with the AFCON being played in December or even it's much even better because we're starting in December. Normally we start in January. Then you go, in few months you go and play the World Cup.
That's the Bafana assistant coach Helman Mkalele on the morning brief. And finally, Liverpool boss Arne Slot insists his relationship with Mohamed Salah has not broken down. Despite leaving the star forward out of the Champions League trip to Inter Milan, Slot told supporters that Salah has the right to feel how he feels. He stressed he has not sensed a rift. The Egyptian, who has scored 250 goals for Liverpool, recently claimed he had been thrown under the bus after being benched for three straight games, including the 3-3 draw with Leeds. That's your sport. We'll lead with more at the top of the hour. I'm Zaikan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the second day of the ANC's National General Council continues in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg this morning. Today's program will comprise of commissions which will discuss the state of the national democratic revolution and the balance of forces. The National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimula, has confirmed police have found one of the two vehicles believed to have been used in the assassination of Marius van der Merwe, who testified as witness D before the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry. And Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says the key message being taken to Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum in January is that South Africa is ripe for investment and ready to do business. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy again coming up from the Eldorado Park, Devland, Lenasia, Protea Glen, Crossmere areas. Major delays. Look, it's a high volume route, this N1, and it's receiving the focus of our attention almost on an increasing daily basis with good reason. It is the heaviest highway across the whole province of Gauteng. Motorists are sitting this morning from the N12 Potch Highway up through Diepkloof Interchange down to Uncle Charlie's. Absolutely jam-packed getting through there. The N1 south through Midrand, just starting to build, but no major problems. R21 for your flight connections from Pretoria looking okay. Talking of a bit of a win and things that are looking okay, Cliffdale Key Ridge, no breakdowns at this minute. It's looking all right if you're that way. And coming out of Cape Town's Mitchell's Plain area, again, some fairly heavy traffic. M7, R300, lights are off. Both of those routes queuing out of Mitchell's Plain towards Samora Michelle side. Also, the M5's got an interesting queue, just queuing up, coming through from Kenilworth towards the Klipfontein exit. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
All right, good morning to you, Ntauling. The first update, there's a lot going on in this streaming, broadcasting, digital entertainment space. What's this now? Paramount hostile takeover bid of the same company we were talking about yesterday. Well, a portion of it yesterday.
Yeah,
Warner Bros. Discovery.
man, we're as we even that this deal was sealed. It seems like that's not the case.
Mm.
Paramount Skydance in the world, $808.billion hostile bid for Warner Bros. Discovery, a direct move. Netflix days earlier announced a $70 billion deal to buy W assets. Now the move reopens a bidding war that Netflix and adds fresh on Netflix, so but is already under political and regulatory scrutiny. Now, what's really interesting here is at the same time of Paramount's CEO, backed by his father, Larry Ellison, the billionaire co-founder of Oracle. Now, Larry Ellison's close relationship with US President Trump and his influential role securing US control over TikTok's American operations is viewed by analysts as a potential advantage for Paramount as regulators decide to bids. Also important to note that Paramount is actually the first company to make an offer on Warner Bros. Assets. Now, this fight isn't just a Hollywood story, it also affects South Africa. MultiChoice warned last week it may drop 12 Warner Bros. Discovery channels, Think Discovery and CNN, offering installed in Warner Bros. Now, now, any change in WBD ownership shape content supply also determine whether those channels stay and so a lot happens. But that's also those really between WBD and Penelope.
Hmm. All right. Speaking of Trump, you mentioned Trump there. Tell me about him giving Nvidia the go-ahead to sell, is it advanced chips to
Yes.
China? What's changed there?
So before initially India was allowed to sell its chips and around because they weren't getting those advanced chips from Nvidia. But now President Trump says Nvidia will be allowed to ship its 800 AI chips to customers in Beijing on condition that the US government receives 25% cut of the revenue. Now, in a post on Truth Social, Trump, Chinese President Xi Jinping responded positively to the proposal, adding that Intel, and other US makers. Move follows earlier agreements in Nvidia and AMD sharing 15% of China-related chip sales with Washington. It also comes after China discouraged the companies using Nvidia's lower grade A20 designed to comply with export limits. The 100 has more advanced, though still not in the top processor. Meanwhile, China is also accelerating efforts to build its chip processor. Just last a major AI chip designer more accurate technology, widely dubbed China's Nvidia, a top-class IPO. Regulators on the rule ease them more domestic to will be interesting to see the competitive landscape and that new chip entering the market where we are seeing the local ecosystem.
You know, you say some of these things and then you move on very quickly. So they can
Yes,
sell these chips to China, but in
yes.
exchange, they must give
25%.
25% of their
20.
revenue.
Yep.
Isn't there a name for that?
Do you want to say it? Do you want to say it?
Is that not a shakedown? Is that not a shakedown? Anyway, what do I know? Lastly, how are we looking on the markets?
So trade in the red overnight with US stocks losing momentum. Nothing to be worried about though, as investors partake in healthy profit taking ahead of the Fed's last monetary policy meeting for the year. The JSE also taking a breather yesterday with stocks in negative territory. Gold counters in particular pulling back, running so hard last week, and that's leading to a near 1.5% decline in gold share. Rand also losing steam this morning, back above 17 to the dollar at 17.04 exact. This mood also filtering to commodities with oil markets in the red, being 0.14%, $62. Then lastly, in Asia, trade quite choppy, mostly in negative territory, taking hold, also as investors moves.
All right, thank you for that. That is Ndauling Lechela with the first update of the morning. She'll be back with the second update just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. A short while ago, I was talking to David Munyai about the truce between Cambodia and Thailand not holding. This is yet another one of those situations. A truce brokered in Washington, but it's already proving to be quite shaky out in Goma.
Absolutely, Tula, Simone and Jamba. Plus, we might call it cheese meal or cheese but cheese accident that was in Washington that we see that yesterday in Goma was explosion that has killed more than 30 people and wounded 20. And there's been a pushback both in Zira, both in the Tula. This shows it to say even if you have US cheese meal or deal in DRC and Rwanda, you still have a rebel group. There has been confrontation with Kinshasa. Hence, yesterday we saw that attack pushing ordinary people, civilians have been pushed away. Tshisekedi actually yesterday in Parliament has accused Rwanda for the agreement last night, saying they are plundering natural resources. So I don't think the state of the US of Washington of bills and millions will allow.
Let's talk about what's happening in Abidjan. Alassane Ouattara firmly entrenched in office, isn't he? Fourth term is going for.
Yeah, that's quite true. There were 11 presidents, and you'll know too that they'll come from them who attended the election. He got 89% of the vote. Vote turnout, the unrest, but Ouattara is back in office. So yesterday, it was that ceremonial showing in of President Alassane Ouattara for the fourth term as the president. I've he came in power in 2010 when we had a contestation with Baron Gbagbo. They showed the referendum change. But that's how you see what is in the last. Like I said, only 11 the
Let's talk about what's happening in Sudan. there's no end in sight for that conflict, quite clearly. And tell me about what's happened in this oil field in South Kordofan state.
So that this is between the border of the north and the south. So when you talk of south, that's of which then normally when you talk about south, and you don't even talk about Juba, but actually it's when they know for Juba, it has been captured by RR because South Kordofan that has been brought in this conflict once more. Now, RSF, you recall, they lost. Now they are occupying one of the key oil production in that region. In this region, I mean, this oil is like a Chinese military, but now due to the conflict, they are moving to occupy this big oil field, which is also one of the administration. How this oil plus 60% currently also is shifting on why the mediation flow, despite we know the part, I mean the part process that process led by the same US. No.
And then lastly, Sipho, in your historical archives, two events that you're focusing on, different decades, but all of them with some link or another to South Africa's liberation struggle.
Absolutely, and they are part of what I call the liberation archives of chronicles. Tanzania will be 52. They were liberated from, you recall that Tanzania actually, I mean, Germans there, and especially the Germans there, and Tanganyika, they understood him, despite the fact that they cannot have the liberation, nothing, by his historical, and so, union and and they also put in the so that was commanded under June of the school as planted. That's the policy. This was much more than well, most of them in now. So this is a very moment when was condemned internationally, was condemned also by the UN. So by so this is our historical aspect. Since our reconciliation month, how do you reconcile? How do you get truth and practice? One of these they must have prayed. There were many people that you know under the grace of God.
All right, Sipho, thank you for that. Sipho Mantula with your Africa update for this morning.
FlySafair is flying into summer, and so should you, with 175 daily flights to 15 sun-soaked destinations. Early bird, midday meanderer, or night owl. Whatever your travel style is, with more flights, more often to more places, you can start your holiday whenever it suits you. From seaside chills to mountain thrills, it's time to pick your favorite holiday hotspot and go. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
You can become a victim of a legal problem. Wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
It's coming up to 14 minutes to 7. So a fresh wave of deadly taxi violence in Johannesburg has reignited fears that the industry is once again sliding into open conflict. The Transport MMC for the city, Kenny Kunene, is now calling for a national police task team following the assassination of yet another senior taxi industry leader. As rivalries deepen, commuters and operators alike are left wondering how long this cycle of violence will continue. Let's speak to Professor Marianne van der Scheren, who is from the Center for Transport Studies at the University of Cape Town. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. It's a critical employer, one, but also the backbone of daily commuter transport in this country. But why does the taxi industry, to the best of your understanding, what is it about it that means that it continues to be plagued by this violence?
Good morning to you and good morning to your listeners. And first of all, condolences to all the family affected by the violence in the taxi industry. When I look at the data that we are having in South Africa, and the National Household Travel Survey is one of the main data sets that we can use for that, we see that the share of for the taxi industry has not changed over recent years. We're talking between 2013 and 2020, and unfortunately, we don't have more recent data from that data set. So, generally what we see is that the share for the taxi industry overall in commuting stays the same. They have taken on um, some train commuters in those years, and we know that for one less full train, we have about 100 extra taxis on the road. So if I say that, then I'm sure in the taxi industry, people are thinking it's a good thing that the trains are not going and we have more economic opportunities. But these are these potential economic opportunities come with worse congestion because there are so many more vehicles on the road, and unfortunately also with a reduction in potential earnings. And I will explain to you why that is. In the period that I'm talking about, we have seen in the Gauteng province almost a 70% increase in the number of taxis on the road. We have only seen an increase of 15% percent on daily commuters. And you will ask, why do I say the share hasn't changed, but the number of taxi commuters has increased? Of course, because we still have a population increase. So that's what we are seeing in the Gauteng area. The average amount of commuters per taxi, however, has reduced. And if I say that, it's from for their whole daily service, it has reduced from 250 passengers over the day to 170, just over 170. Now that's where your reduction in earnings come. So it's very clear that the market is totally saturated. And with that, you get the violence because everybody is fighting for their exit.
So is it a matter of more industry players and taxis plying routes that are, uh, in terms of their returns, are diminishing returns and basically becoming, in terms of the market is not growing as much as they are putting in vehicles. Would regulation make a difference then in that situation? Because usually these are conflicts about routes. Would better and more transparent regulation, more consistent regulation be the solution?
I definitely think that we need to rationalize and make sure that that routes are not oversaturated, which we can see now. Again, another number is that on average there are 7 members per route, but the standard deviation is 18, which means that there are routes out there where there are 25 players on a certain route. Again, that is just oversaturation and asking for trouble. So I agree with you. We need to rationalize. We need to make a good plan. So in my view, making sure that and we have seen studies where the taxi industry earns more, works less hours, and passengers are served better if rationalization happens. There have been some pilots in South Africa. So we need to really plan better in areas where there is better policing, and that's why I have to say I'm not against the task force. Where there's better policing, we see also less violence. That's also what we see out there.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. Professor Marianne van der Schuren with some insights there on the situation, especially the market conditions that are perhaps that partly explain some of what we see, the competition that ends up being violent in the taxi industry. She is from the Center for Transport Studies at UCT.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very heavy on that N1 North again this morning. It is by quite some distance the heaviest highway, or heaviest congested highway around the whole of Gauteng. We're talking the M1 between the Potch Highway and the Deepcliff interchange. Really big volume of traffic, and it's all queuing up this morning back as far as that M12 Potch Highway junction. Roadworks coming out of Vereeniging on the R59 on your way towards Meyerton, just by Redan, north of Vereeniging is where the road construction is. N12 looking a little bit sluggish coming out of Benoni through Boxburg. Looks like a breakdown around Atlas Road this morning, causing that delay. And if you're in Pretoria Central, so right in the heart of the CBD, Nana Sita and Sophie de Brain crashed there, causing some quite heavy congestion. For this time of morning, you might want to avoid that. Queues on your way into Durban at Marion Hill Plaza. That is likely to be there all day again today. It's been like that for, I think this is about the third week of just daytime, all day long queues at the plaza towards Durban. The N2 backing up from the M7 through Westwood Mall. That's a route that stays busy all morning as well. And driving into Cape Town, N1 fairly heavy this Tuesday with queues from Durban Road, Belleville side, all the way through to the Kuiberg interchange. The M5 looking sluggish from Kenilworth right through to the Kuiberg interchange as well. And if you come out of Kales River, making your way along Van Riebeeck and Strand, there's some pressure there building up the other side of the R300 as you line up through the Stickland area. And no traffic lights, Jake's Curvell and the R300, both of those routes for a second consecutive morning, queuing heavily coming out of Mitchell's Plain. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Through the door, after we buy cars we go. Gonna treat myself this year, the prices are so low. We buy cars, we buy cars, we buy all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a new car today. We buy cars, we sell all the way. Saving so much money feels like a diamond holiday.
Ho, ho, ho. We buy cars. The most festive way to sell and buy your car by far.
The Playhouse Company proudly presents a Christmas celebration. One performance only on Saturday, 20 December at 3 p.m. featuring Ayanda Ntanzi, Don Laka, Timothy Malloy, the powerful KwaZulu-Natal Philharmonic Orchestra, the Playhouse Chorale, and many more incredible artists. Tickets from just 200 Rand. Book at WebTickets. The ultimate spectacular Christmas show. Bold, brilliant, and not to be missed. Only at the Playhouse Company.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, 6 minutes to 7. So with the festive season at hand, a lot of us will be on the roads. South Africans hitting the roads in growing numbers this coming festive season. Law enforcement visibility is also ramping up, but also so are questions about motorists' rights. Legal experts are warning that while road safety is non-negotiable, drivers cannot be forced to pay fines on the spot and cannot be arrested without a valid warrant. Knowing your rights, they say, could spare you serious trouble at the roadside. So let's speak to Fortune Cheho, who is a consumer law commentator who joins us now to take the conversation forward. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time, Fortune. So let's start with the first issue. Spot fines. I've heard of people saying that they were asked to pay a spot fine. Does that happen frequently? And what is the legal position regarding that?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. I hope you are well. Thank you for having me on the show. Spot fine. Just explain. If one is for example, they cannot be compelled to pay. And the same applies to sport. So even if one is handed in sport fine, cannot be compelled to pay the fine. They are meetings that law enforcement can add roadblocks, but that is optional for consumers or motorists that want to pay the fines on the spot and settle their outstanding fines. So just like ordinary outstanding fines, one cannot can also not be compelled to pay a spot fine on the go with or without justification. Because if one is forced to do so, or if one is compelled to do so, that amounts to extortion, and one can then after.
So are you saying that there isn't a condition under which, or a certain traffic offense that warrants that actually in this instance you pay the fine immediately? As far as you can scan and scour our laws around traffic infringements, there is no such law.
Yes, because one can only be arrested, be compelled to pay a fine once there is a warrant of arrest that is linked to that fine. So where there isn't a warrant of arrest that is shown to you linked to a specific fine or linked to a specific infringement, you cannot be arrested.
So let's talk about that issue of arrest. What's the law regarding that? When usually you are stopped in one of these major operations, they will have, apologies for that, you will have these big trucks, usually traffic enforcement, and they'll be saying we are checking for fines, outstanding fines, and the likes. What's the situation there around warrants of arrest? What are those issued for? Are they specifically for the fine, or for contempt of court for having failed to deal with the initial fine?
Yes, the warrant arrest are issued for contempt of court. So where one has been served with a summons and they fail to appear at the hearing, they fail to appear on the then the magistrate can issue warrant of arrest. It that so it is the warrant is for the contempt of court. So the failure to attend on the hearing date as outlined in the summons that was served on the specific part.
And to what extent is all of that being shifted and changing somewhat, given the nascent moves towards approaching a system akin to that administrative approach, that ARTO approach, as opposed to criminalizing road traffic infringements, but rather imposing inconveniences such as not being able to renew your driver's license until you've dealt with all of your fines? I'm seeing a lot of that. Is that shifting the conversation around people being on the side of the road and possibly being arrested for outstanding fines, separate from being arrested for other infringements that perhaps constitute offenses for which you can be arrested?
Yes, so the shift is towards because of the administrative adjudication of road traffic RTO, a shift from the traditional method of administration or adjudication of road traffic offences as per the Criminal Procedure Act, where offences once they summons and a warrant of arrest that is prosecuted by the National Prosecuting Authority in the lower court. The R is a shift towards a more administrative system of road traffic. So one-to-one gets infringement. If infringement notice, they have the option of paying and people down or uh, entering an agreement or some sort of arrangement to pay the fine over 6 months and the 50% discount. And if one does not exercise within 32 days, they get an get a letter, the package that seems the follow up, it's a reminder, and it will uh, a fine of its own. So there is a moment a different fine. But those ARTO amendments bill, which is the role during the course of I think the first roll out to the first 9 municipalities took place on the 1st of December 2025, and it will be rolled out continuously up until April 2026.
All right, let's leave it there for
Mm,
this morning. Thank you
mm.
for your time. Fortune Cheho, who is a consumer law commentator, weighing in on some of what you should know as you encounter police officers. Someone is pointing out that there's usually advantage in immediately settling the fine because you will get that discount, as opposed to what Fortune was explaining towards the latter part of our conversation, that if you leave it and you end up not paying it, actually it might escalate and become even more inconvenient later down the line. Let's go straight to N. Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Thanks to us. In our top stories, ANC NGC to discuss state of its national democratic revolution, and Northwest Police uncovered drugs worth millions of rand. Good morning. The second day of the ANC's National General Council continues in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg this morning. The ANC NGC is used as a midterm progress report on the state of the organization. Today's program will comprise of commissions which will discuss the state of the national democratic revolution and the balance of forces. Meanwhile, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says the renewal of branches, the primary structure of the party, is central to its revival. Mbalula said this while delivering the party's mid-term report.
Over time, many branches became functional only during leadership contests and conference periods. To address this, the branch functionality barometer was developed and piloted in 2023. By the time of the NGC, more than 860 branches had completed the audit, although participation varied significantly across provinces. The barometer is intended to entrench a culture of routine reporting, community engagement, and constitutional compliance, thereby breaking the cycle of conference branches.
The National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimula, has confirmed police have found one of the two vehicles believed to have been used in the assassination of Marius van der Merwe, who testified as witness D before the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry. Masimula revealed the bakkie was found abandoned in Alexandra Township. Police are still searching for the other vehicle. 3 persons of interest have been identified and 1 has been questioned. Masimula briefed the media in Brakpan, east of Johannesburg.
There was an attempted murder on Marius van der Merwe in September 2025, in which he indicated that there were 2 wild males that were following him with a bakkie. We're still looking for the murder weapon that was used for this current case now. We currently cannot indicate as to what is the motive.
6 people have been arrested and drugs worth millions of rand discovered by police at a laboratory in Makapanstad in the northwest. Hawk spokesperson Katlego Mogale says the team traced information linked to a suspect who had fled in a separate case. She says the information led them to a small holding in the Northwest Province.
Upon the Hawks' arrival, 6 suspects aged between 44 and 55 were found in the process of manufacturing of Mandrax. Large quantities of Mandrax finished product as well as powder were found on the scene. All 6 suspects were arrested. A drug press, a crusher machine, scales and packaging bags were also found. The 6 suspects will appear in court soon on charges of manufacturing in drugs.
The National Professional Teachers Organization of South Africa says it believes the number of teachers found guilty of sexual misconduct is higher than what's been revealed. The Education Labour Relations Council revealed that 176 teachers were found guilty of sexual misconduct between 2021 and the end of this year. Various teacher unions and child protection organizations in South Africa want teachers found guilty to be dismissed. Naptosa KZN spokesperson Therona Moodley.
There's actually no grey areas because remember, where the consent is not required for statutory rape. Employment of Educators Act has a section 17 which says an educator must be dismissed if found guilty of being in a sexual relationship with a learner in a school that is teaching or any kind of sexual misconduct. The number that we have right now, I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. It's only the reported cases and those found guilty.
And finally, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says the key message being taken to Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum in January is that South Africa is ripe for investment and ready to do business. Speaking to the media at a pre-World Economic Forum business breakfast, Godongwana said trade negotiations with the United States are ongoing, adding that government is also in the process of appointing an ambassador to the US. The minister says South Africa will resume its G20 participation in 2027 following the country's exclusion from the US G20 presidency next year.
We are involved in intense negotiations on trade negotiations, which is and those trade negotiations, by the way, are going very well. There may be what is attracting people a turf with the USA on what they call genocide. As a result, they are not accrediting us for G20, but it does not mean a necessary fallout with the USA. It's up to the member state to decide what to do. As far as we're concerned, if we are excluded by the USA in 2026, 2027 G20 presidents go to the United Kingdom and will resume our seat in 2027.
Recapping the top story, the second day of the ANC National General Council continues in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg this morning. Today's program will comprise of commissions which will discuss the state of the National Democratic Revolution and the balance of forces. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes waiting for that file to download. Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 Ford Ranger, 57-year-old Andy now pays only 1,083 Rand a month. And for her 2020 Hyundai Tucson, 48-year-old Felicity pays just 836 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM headlines. Cricket captain David Miller says the Proteas are determined to break their World Cup hoodoo. Face India at 3:30 this afternoon. And we bring you news from the netball field. Spa Proteas have made a blistering start to their Africa Netball Cup title defense, hammering Tanzania 104-25 in Malawi. All the details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. If you're coming out of the Vereeniging area, leaving the Vaal, there's some roadworks just north of Vereeniging up towards Redan, and there's some queuing pressure there on your way up to Joburg. N1 North heavy still from Eldos through Devlin into Deepcliff interchange down to Uncle Charlie's. It's rivaling for the heaviest highway across the whole Gauteng province, although the N12 is quite slow from the Davyton side as you come into Benoni. So moving through Benoni down towards sort of Rondebolt Road in the Boksburg territory, that's quite slow. And we are keeping an eye on the M1 South in Pretoria. It looks like roadworks may be hanging there between Stormful Road and the N4 Emilifleni split. It was bad yesterday afternoon and it's pretty slow this morning. Durban, the N3 inbound, queuing at Marion Hill Plaza. That can be an all-day thing. The N2 north from the M7 through Westwood Mall, absolutely jam-packed for a Tuesday. And Cape Town, the N1, fairly heavy inbound from Belleville through to Kubo. Get a change. M5 is fully loaded this morning from Southfield Parkwood. There's traffic all the way up to the Kubo. Get a change and no lights. M7, Jake Scurville delaying you out of Mitchell's Plain. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 7. Welcome to the second hour of the morning brief here on SAFM. We are on 104 to 107. I mean, as I'm thinking about it, sorry, I'm being silly. As I'm thinking about it, it has taken me a lot of adaptation to pronounce the O in 104 as O because that's a zero. I'm the kind of person that will say 104 to 107. But anyway, for the sake of the brand, it's 104 to 107 SAFM. It is great to be in your company on this Tuesday morning. Among some of what we will cover over this hour, we'll start off talking about the ANC's National General Council. It is the fifth National General Council of the ANC. With a gathering of 1,650 or thereabouts, 1,700 delegates that have been drawn together into the room at Birchwood Hotel to consider how far the party has gone in implementing its resolutions from its conference in 2022, but also taking in some of the sobering realities including its poor performance in the election. And that has been grappled with to a certain extent on day one of the NGC. So Samgele Masego will come through and report extensively on that and set the scene for what happens on day two. And then, of course, we'll talk to Sandy Leswana, the political analyst, to then unpack it further. And then a bit later on, we'll be talking about the efforts to improve education outcomes in Limpopo. There's an initiative that aims to tackle the learning crisis where it hurts the most, the foundation years. It focuses on mathematics and English at key transition grades, being grade 4, grade 8, and grade 9. So we'll be talking to Dr. Godwin Koza about that, who is the chief executive of NECT, being the National Education Collaboration Trust. And we'll talk about what exactly they're doing to try and improve the teaching and learning and outcomes really around mathematics and English at grades 4 and grade 8 and grade 9. Your calls, you can raise, weigh in on these issues or raise any other issues that may be on your mind. I'm on 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The second hour of the morning brief on this Tuesday starts now.
We're now going to classify gender-based violence and femicide as a crisis.
This 16 days of activism, SAFM stands firm under the theme Letsema, men, women, boys and girls working together to end gender-based violence and femicide. Together, we can break the silence. Together, we can protect our communities. Speak out, report it, take action. SAFM says no to gender-based violence. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
Renew or perish appears to have been the common refrain on day one as the ANC, African National Congress, opened its fifth National General Council in Boksburg in Gauteng. We also got an in-depth look at what ails the party as diagnosed by the ANC leadership itself. Disconnectedness and lack of rooting in communities, service delivery failures, arrogant displays of opulence, an election machinery that never really got into top gear in 2024, plus a sense of denialism about what the trends were pointing to ahead of that election. Those are just some of the issues and factors that were lifted up by the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula in his midterm report to the NGC. Let's speak to Samgele Masego, senior political reporter here at the SABC. Good morning to you, Samgele. Day two. But let's recap before we get into day two. Let's recap on day one. Lots of messages being delivered. The president spoke, president of the ANC, as well as fraternal organizations and alliance partners, ending up and culminating in that midterm report. What were some of the highlights?
Some of the highlights, Sula, was the basic and frankness in the issues of the ANC's political review report. You remember the frankness of the president of the ANC, where he said, some way to must be honest with one another. We had a lackluster campaign in 2024. Was not scratch, and the ANC machinery was not as well oiled as it used to be. And of course, that was some of the frank admissions going to speaking about how the ANC lost its percent for the first time publicly in the ANC fora. It did say that in the large numbers of the ANC's decline, it is because of the formation of the MK party. Another myriad of issues that come to the issues of maladministration, corruption, lack of service delivery to community members. He spoke about the economic trajectory of the country and how the economy has not been performing at all fronts. And he spoke about, especially when it comes to the issue of the broad-based black economic empowerment, transformative policies within the country that they won't do away with them, despite the pressure they're receiving from organizations such as AfriForum and geopolitically from the United States. Speaking also about how the ANC must go back to being an organization that is intellectually and ideologically clear, opposed to being intellectually and ideologically bankrupt. Going on to the Frank as well, ANC structures, said, youth league not going to the and for it, of basically sticking and mirroring the issue of the diagnostic report then delivered in 2017 against the practice.
So let's say a bit more about the electoral performance, because I found that those aspects to be quite, revealing how they understood. There's a portion in Fikile Mbalula's report where he talks about the signs were there, but we were in denialism, and as a result, they lost some 4 million votes of people that just simply did not show up. What do they say about how to turn that around?
Thulas, I found that document, the General of the ANC, very, very enriching. I found it to be insight. For instance, where they draw the comparison, the building of the middle class, what we call the middle class, how they lost the middle class, how the unfortunately elected was only speaking to the converted, but not speaking to the undecided voters who eventually decided home. Saying that drawing comparisons to South Africa's society, drawing the voter base that to vote, the voter base that sees out how it refuses the lackluster youth league not being there to draw their peers to go out to the and about the middle class that stayed away within the townships, the suburban areas, and vote with the branches and the weak they are in. It was pretty much like mirroring the society we live in today, to mirroring it and just opposing it to the where the organizationally saying that there must be a convergence between the two once again. So it was a very enriching report. The proof is in the pudding, but the solution on how to get water base is what is going to now be deliberated into morning about 10 o'clock.
All right, Samgele, thank you for that. And in fact, part of that conversation, as Samgele foregrounds it, has to do with the ANC saying that we lost 4 million that stayed at home. But actually, in this coming campaign, we are going to go for, and the target is to add 4 million new voters onto the voters' roll that will be enthused by the message of the ANC. How exactly to do that is what Samgele is talking about. That will come through from the commissions when they get underway. Samgele Masego, senior political reporter at the SABC, here at the SABC. Listening to that is the political analyst Sandile Swana. Good morning to you, Sandile, and thank you for your time as always. Your overall broad impressions of day one of the NGC. There's something very different about this NGC, isn't it? In terms of the political energy and the temper and tone. It's not comparable, certainly not comparable to 2005 or 2015 or any of those when the rumblings were starting about, how to start planning about the next upcoming elective conference. This seems to be subdued.
Yes, thank you, Thulasizwe, and good morning also to your listeners. It is subdued on a number, at least two fronts. Even the most dishonest ANC member has got to admit now that the
decline that started in the 2009 election, electoral support, the percentage of electoral support that the ANC would get in the total vote, that decline is now naked in the public. There is no stories that you can. So the idea that you are a bulletproof ANC that will govern until Jesus comes back is over. That romantic period is over. The period of impunity, bossiness, and the boisterous, boastful ANC, that is over. Number two, they are subdued also because there is no certainty at this juncture that the issue that you can raise is that let's just quickly remove Ramaphosa and put in Togo Didiza or Mashatile. Those rumblings, it's not clear whether that will not bury the ANC or what will happen or whether it is even possible. So you need to stick to the agenda. The two initial bodyguards, political bodyguards of Ramaphosa, being Malula and Mandashe, have made it clear that that thing is not on the agenda. You're not going to remove any president here.
So there's the diagnosis as well that has been happening, and people give the ANC credit for having the ability to be honest with themselves, going deep. When you read that midterm report, you would swear it's written by someone outside of the ANC, just the lengths to which it goes in just grappling with the weaknesses within the ANC. But then, apologies for that. As always, the question then becomes what is to be done? That's where there's a disconnect sometimes. What's your sense of that? Are they at a point where the reckoning that you're talking about will be coupled by what action needs to be taken? For example, modernizing their message. What, for example, makes this message of the National Democratic Revolution a message for the moment in which they are as a political party?
In terms of being honest about where the ANC is, the self-diagnosis of the ANC, from my personal point of view, from the days of Mandela in the 1990s, when he had just taken power in South Africa, the diagnosis has been very, very direct and honest. Mandela was honest. And every president actually has been honest about what needs to be corrected. Mandela was honest, but in terms of the RDP of the soul, the renewal of ANC and society as a whole, that never got off the ground. Before we knew it, down the road, the lights of the Zuma were made to be the head of some moral regeneration, this and the other. So every report, I remember Kgalema Montante, when he was Secretary General, saying that the ANC branches are in a palace state. The 19th January 2007, Kgalema Montante said that there is no level of the ANC that is not corrupt. There is, even in deployment at municipal, provincial, and national level, there's no level where they are not corrupt. But the ANC seeing exactly what the problem is, and also seeing very clearly what the solution is. When you see a thief stealing your sheep, your cattle, walking away with them, you go and stop the thief and take your cattle back. The ANC has seen the mafia penetrating the ANC and the state, and not stood up to go and remove those people from the state and from the ANC and eject and expel them. And there is no solution other than that. Remove the incompetent, remove the corrupt, remove the lazy, remove the opportunists and the careers from the ANC and from the state. There is no other.
But isn't that what they're trying to do, Sandi Leswana, with the change in the membership system and then also the political education that's being infused? Before you become a proper member of the ANC, you now have to undergo the foundation course that teaches you the basics of what the ANC stands for, the values, the constitution, etc. And then you are in that probation period, and only then do you become a member in good standing, with the result that you only now have about 540,000 members in good standing, as opposed to a period where it was about filling stadia with massive numbers and people being card-carrying members. Isn't that what they're trying to address?
You are talking about trying to address. If you go to the documents of the African National Congress, and I must state this categorically, that I try that 90% or more my analysis is based on ANC documents, not just my opinions that I read the ANC document. So if you read the document during the times of Mbulelo Koni, when he was the chief whip in parliament, there was a document with the pitching in the ANC of the new cadre around the year 2000. And there were workshops for that. They were trying to create a new soul in the ANC, a renewal of the soul. This political education you're talking about. They were trying then. They followed up, if my memory serves well, the following day in 2020, in 2001, with through the eye of the needle, which was telling them in precise terms what minimum criteria should a cadre who's going to be deployed or continue to be a member must actually meet, which means the others must be. They were trying then. I'm coming to this word that we are using, trying. Are you saying that you must try for 20 years, 25 years, trying? I think the time for trying is long gone. The time for trying is long gone. And I must be clear that the loss of trust, the trust, when the ANC got to about 70% of votes, got there through building trust, through superior performance during the Mandela and the Mbeki presidency. Then, when they took this openly criminal route, the route of non-performance, after the Polokwane route of laziness and delinquency, the trust started going down. Now, they've been doing that since the conference until now. They are not going to use the next 12 months to build that confidence. Not going to happen. So, to say you are trying this and trying that, you're wasting everybody's time.
All right. On that note, let's leave it there. Thank you for your time. Sandile Swana, political analyst, weighing in on some of the issues that are in the background and backdrop. In fact, if not front and center, as the ANC goes into day 2 of its National General Council.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Very good morning. Let's kick it off with Proteas veteran David Miller saying South Africa are more determined than ever to break their World Cup hoodoo. The side takes on India in the first T20 3:30 today. Miller, who's back from a hamstring injury, says last year's final defeat to India still sits heavily with the squad. He's been speaking to players who've won major tournaments, trying to understand what it takes to cross that final hurdle.
No, I don't think there's really one recipe to win a World Cup. I think it's it takes a team effort, takes a group effort, should I say, management and players included. And I think it's just standing up when the moments matter. That's how I see it personally. So I think looking back on that previous World Cup where we got to the final, it was a fantastic final. Obviously, just getting short at the end there, but all in all, we found ways to win. There were some very, very close games throughout that World Cup for us, and we got over the line. So you kind of build confidence as you go along, and we're going to need some of that moving forward in a couple of months' time.
Soccer now, Orlando Pirates end 2025 as South Africa's undisputed team to beat, lifting a second trophy this season and sitting top of the Premiership into the break. Their coach Islam Wadu says their revival and revived attacking trio, as well as Willibahile Mofokeng's form, has transformed the Buccaneers into title favourites. Elsewhere, Manchester United have moved up to 6th in the Premier League after a 4-1 win over Wolves at Molineux. And finally, the Spark Proteas have made a blistering start to their Africa Netball Cup title defense, hammering Tanzania 104 to 25 in Malawi. That's your sport. We'll be back at the top of the hour with more. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the second day of the ANC's National General Council continues in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg this morning. Today's program will comprise of commissions which will discuss the state of the National Democratic Revolution and the balance of forces. Authorities have confirmed 8 initiates have died in the Eastern Cape so far this season. This was confirmed by the Provincial Traditional Affairs Department, and the IFP says the withdrawal of the 90-day visa exemption for Palestinians is an indication of how South Africa's migration system has been exploited. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM traffic with momentum. Just as you plan your route, only 15% of households plan for retirement. Plan yours today. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor for advice that meets your context.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
If you're driving into central Pretoria, one to avoid would be the junction confluence of Nana Sita and Sophie de Brand. It's been quite a big crash there, and there's some very heavy traffic heading along both of those routes into that junction, particularly coming in from the Pretoria west side along Nana Sita. Also in Pretoria, just some queues on the N4 driving in towards the N1 highway, backlogging through towards Vitamar Street. Joburg's N1 from Bayers Nordier around to Ravonia, fairly sluggish, and 12 at hour 24 if you're coming in from Boksburg, Benoni, or arriving from the airport. Both routes joined in a jam through the Galulis, and the N1 South still very busy and slow on the brakes from the Potch Highway all the way up through Deepcliff interchange down to Uncle Charlie's. Some roadworks coming out of Vereeniging at Redan. That's on the R59 as you make your way slowly towards Meyerton and Joburg. Durban, the N2 North, queuing heavily now between Commercial Highway and Gateway. That's your second queue after the run up through Spaghetti Junction. So if you're on your way to the airport, make sure you got a bit of extra time this morning to get through all that. Cape Town, no traffic lights on Jake's Curville and the R300, so super slow coming out of that Mitchell's Plain area. And there's also no traffic lights on the busy N2 out at Gordons Bay, Somerset West. It's the N2 at Onvervuk, so some delays both ways through that junction. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Momentum is part of the Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Some say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, sometimes it gets the grease, sometimes it gets replaced. Generic guidance only fits a few situations. That's why Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to understand you, and only then apply their expertise. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. The business update on SAFM.
Hey, Ndauling, good morning to you once again. Let's talk financial services meets fintech. It seems those financial services companies are always on the lookout for interesting acquisitions in that space, yeah?
You're absolutely right. And the latest that is Capitec striking the deal to acquire local fintech company Wallet 400 million rand. Transaction cost of Capitec pushed lower deposit and digital access to widen financial inclusion. Price consists of an upfront 300 million rand cash payment, further 100 million rand earned to be paid if certain milestones are met. Now, Wallet Block offers online and digital wallets and real-time payout, ability Capitec live ambition to build seamless payment process. The move, of course, comes in aid to South African banks accelerate the rate of actions driven by rising competition, digital payments, and pressure to offer faster, cheaper. Business Day article noted that banks have spent more than 7 billion rand acquiring fintech this year. State Bank of FirstRand snapped up a 20% stake in AI-driven Asia, and the Center Technologies is in the process of acquiring Bank Zero. So we are seeing, these big financial services really going into that fintech space and snapping up some of those companies.
So the solution is simple for you and I to make our millions. Let's get into fintech. do what we need to do. and then abide our time and just wait. Talk to me about Eskom. I assume that ferrochrome producers are among the energy intense group of users. Tell me what they are saying about a plan that will offer some relief for ferrochrome producers.
So ferrochrome producers and Eskom are advancing a plan to stabilize power costs industry where thousands of jobs are currently on the line. Memorandum of Understanding proposes carving out electricity for specific power stations and supplying it to smelters at a ring-fenced, more predictable tariff. Now, the model separates the cost of coal from the cost of generating electricity, allowing a targeted price that operates viable. And the industry has warned that nearly 5,000 jobs could be lost. Glencore, Merafe, and Summon both preparing retrenchment as rising electricity prices make local production competitive. The proposed arrangement, however, could keep up to 12 furnaces running and prevent smelter closures by cutting power costs roughly in half. Under the deal, producers would supply Eskom with coal at cost, and Eskom would bill an equivalent amount of power back to their plants. The process has already delayed planned layoffs and helped bring idle furnaces back online.
What's moving the markets at this moment?
Starting in Asia, markets are in the red this morning. Hong Kong Hang Seng leading those declines, down about 1%. Investors are in wait and see mode ahead of the Fed's rates decision. The meeting kicks off today with the call on rates tomorrow. US futures are quickly mirroring the cautious turn across Asia. And then back at home, trade was weaker yesterday. JSE share slipped nearly 1.5% as profits taking sentiment, while the rand has lost some momentum, now at 17 the dollar. Oil softer, down 0.3%, trading just below $6.
All right, Dowling, thank you for that. We'll touch base with you one more time just after just after 8:30. And of course, as she always does in that update, Dowling will give you a sense of the kind of trading day you can expect on this Tuesday.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
I don't love going to school. I don't love sitting in a classroom with 50 other children. But I do love learning. Ngiyakuthanda ukufunda isiXhosa as a language. I do love getting good grades. I do love UCT Online High School because I do love my future. Apply online before 19 December.
FlySafair is flying into summer, and so should you, with 175 daily flights to 15 sun-soaked destinations. Early bird, midday meanderer, or night owl. Whatever your travel style is, with more flights more often to more places, you can start your holiday whenever it suits you. From seaside chills to mountain thrills, it's time to pick your favorite holiday hotspot and go. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let me start with voice notes and then I'll go to the calls. I see Spiwe, I see Dineo on standby and waiting. Let me take this one. The conversation we started yesterday about Witness D and his killing.
Morning, Thulas, various Witness D. Marius van der Merwe. He was doing policing, working with the police. dealing with illegal mining. Was it a tender? Who was paying him to do that to do policing work? Was it a tender or what? With those rifles, was it a tender? Anonymous.
Well, he ran his security company, and there is collaboration between security companies. It's not unusual. The details of it, of course, sitting where I am, I wouldn't have, but I know that there's widespread collaboration between police officers and security companies. In fact, at some point, it was almost formalized. In fact, it was formalized in the form of there was a plan that General Masimula revealed at some point, and I've not heard anything of that plan ever since, to be honest. But I do remember that plan that says a force multiplier. You already have these security companies patrolling, they encounter people, they know who's suspicious, who's doing what. If you can tap into that and you can ask them to assist you, then you should do that. So I don't know, I'm not discounting the possibility of formal engagement in the form of, it's got a return, it's got a price to it. I don't know the details. But all I'm saying is that collaboration between the private security sector and the police is nothing uncommon.
Good morning, Thulas and the team. Good show as always. Thulas, today I'm very, very disappointed by Abatembu King's comments to suggest that Israel was lenient in killing 60,000 Palestinians. He regards that as lenient. So I'm so disappointed, Thulas. DK, thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. I want to refrain from saying anything simply because I've not given myself time to watch the videos of the Abatembu King, and all I've seen are the headlines about expletives, about ANC and foreign policy. That's all I've seen. But I've seen that he's been trending, but I've not made time to actually listen to some of what he said. But as you say, you are disappointed in what he had to say.
Hi, good morning, Thulas Johnson and Bella. I hear what Sandy Leswan is saying in his comment of the ANC. He says, I quote, remove the corrupt from the ANC. The question then becomes, who is not corrupt in the ANC? Because if you say remove the corrupt from the ANC, that means there will be no one left in the ANC. Simple as that. Thank you.
And that's the big problem that the ANC faces, that perception. I don't believe that it can be true, objectively, that all of them are corrupt. I don't know. I don't speak for them. And I know there'll be some people coming for me. That's fine. If you believe that they are all corrupt, that's fine. Okay? That's all right. We don't have to go to World War III over it. But that's the perception. The perception has set in that people just don't have that belief that there are still those who are not corrupt, and those form the critical mass of the ANC. That's where their difficulty is. How they solve it, I don't know. I'm going to be at the NGC watching it, but yeah, just watching to see how do they grapple with that, the perception that you are all corrupt. We don't even want to hear nuances. No, what nuances? You've shown us so many people who are corrupt and exposed us to so many corrupt people such that we now believe all of you are painted with the same brush. Dineo in the Northern Cape, maybe you have the answers. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Okay, come. Hello?
Yes, I'm here, Dineo.
Okay, I want to talk about the ANC and their blatant lies that they have been spreading all year.
All right. Who's troubling Dineo there? Dineo? All right, Dineo, let's put you on hold. Don't go anywhere. We will take your call. Just, are you back with us? All right, we'll put Dineo on hold while she tries to sort out that situation. Dineo there, dealing with someone who's, getting in the way as she's trying to make her point. Dumi in Port Shepstone. Good morning.
Good morning, Thulas. How are you?
Very well. How are you, Put?
I'm good, Thulas. You're speaking from Port Shepstone in your
Yes.
town, Thulas.
A
Yes,
push-up
Thulas. I want to.
Steve.
Yes, thank you. I want to speak about the witness being told us very soul respect.
Yes.
Plus, what I don't understand is that only maybe us, the party, could not hear who was the witness. Because when he was giving his testimony to us, if you knew that man personally, you would have known the very first moment you heard his voice.
Absolutely.
This is who. And they are saying Fulas, he was given the protection and they refused. So, Fulas, the question maybe you can ask or answer the minister or someone else, if it is protection, but they know that this protection, this person needs this protection. So what must be done? Because now that the witness is no more, how will the other witnesses that who are still willing to go and testify, they will go?
Yeah.
Even if I had something to say now after this, I cannot go to that.
Absolutely.
Very sad.
Yeah, it is difficult to me. Thank you for that. That's the difficulty. How do you ensure that this person is afforded protection when they say to you, no, I will not take up the offer of you giving me protection because I run my own security company, but also the sense that whatever protection you give me, if these people want to get to me, they will be able to get to me. It really is a difficult one to grapple with. And by the way, it's not just Witness D. I think we heard a couple of weeks ago that there are a number of witnesses who refuse to take up witness protection in the formal sense, as in, the one where they uproot you and give you a new life, new identity. That sense of just being uprooted and your life disrupted in that manner, apparently, and also distrust in the system also contributes to some witnesses saying no to witness protection. It's difficult. Spiwe in Newcastle, good morning.
Morning.
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Like, wanted to be told, hey,
Yeah.
this is very disappointing. I don't know. To get some circumcision is something that you can train people and you can prevent some of these things. Year in, year out, I wonder what would it take to prevent the slaughtering of this young boy. Because purely this is more of a preventable death.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would fail to do this. I'm just disappointed. Beyond disappointed, I can't even express myself.
Yeah.
Why can't you prevent such things?
Absolutely.
And what is so painful is like, I think people are taken for granted based on their economic status. I can tell you that you will never find somebody who is a big shot in Eastern Cape, whether it's a politician or whoever, find that their son is big because they went through initiation. It's only because of ordinary people, because our lives don't matter, especially to this traditional leaders and politicians. You just disappointed.
Yeah, I hear you, Spiwe. Spiwe, do you believe that not enough is being done to curb, those illegal schools, for example? Because apparently those are some of the factors that weigh in illegal initiation schools that are not regulated and monitored, don't comply with any of the regulations, with the result that I know, for instance, this whole issue of dehydration of initiates becomes a major issue. Do you think not enough is being done? Do you think more could be done to deal with that?
Definitely, more could be done. I feel that there's no way that I think for me, meaning we have to sensitize and have a lot of campaign where we live, at, whether it's a village or wherever, to say, listen, go to school. We need to know that anyone who's going to go to initiative school, this is the list of schools. You need to go and take it. I don't think people know exactly as to how to verify this school. So I think you should get to beyond the ground so that you can prevent something.
All right. Spiwe, thank you for that. Raising, it's a perennial crisis, really, the death of initiates during the initiation season in various parts of the country. It's something that we've grappled with Yeah, for many, many years. And the solutions, as Piwa says, it really is disheartening to see that it continues to happen at the rate at which it's happening now.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Not a bad run out of Vereeniging. There were some early morning delays just coming out towards Redan on the R59 through some roadworks. The traffic moving a lot better now. There's a big backlog on the N1 South. This is for motorists coming out of Centurion down through Midrand. It's a crash near Samrand on the northbound side, but big enough to be having a bigger impact on the high volume south. So between Brockfontein and Olifantsfontein, both ways quite hectic. Also the N14, Krugersdorp Highway, onto the M1 through to John Foster Drive in Centurion. There's quite a heavy backlog as well this morning, and the N1 passing Soweto under a bit of pressure up towards the Mareesburg off-ramp, very slow on your way through to Rudaport and Randburg sides this morning. Some congestion on Durban's M13, just gliding on slowly to the M3 at Paradise Valley. If you're coming out of Pinetown, heading towards the N3 highway, there is some delays to work through there. Breakdown on the N2 North before Gateway has been cleared, so that big delay that we told you about has eased up quite nicely. Cape Town, no lights, M7, R300, so still queuing up out of Mitchell's Plain. There's a lot of traffic around the Parow Goodwood area this morning. N7, Jakes Curville into the roadworks at Voortrek is heavy. Delaray into the roadworks up by Epping Avenue, very slow. And just a little bit further east, Delaray, as you make your way from sort of Parow Industrial up through to Voortrekker Road, that's quite heavy as well. And a reminder, the Franschhoek Pass will be closed today. This is a big deal because it's a long way to travel if you arrive there or need to travel during the closure. It's a 2-hour closure of the route linking Franschhoek to Villiers-Dorp. R45 will be closed from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. to move some drilling rig equipment. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Indeed, we are, as always, live on those digital platforms. Add to that our website, safm.co.za. It's coming up to about 7 minutes to 8. Let's talk education. In Limpopo, a new education intervention aims to tackle the learning crisis where it hurts most, the foundation years. The Limpopo Learning Improvement Program is being rolled out to strengthen mathematics and English at key transition grades in what education leaders are calling a direct investment in the province's economic future. Let's speak to Dr. Godwin Khoza, who is the CEO of the National Education Collaboration Trust, the NECT. Good morning and thank you for your time. So what is the Limpopo Learning Improvement Program? What does it entail?
Well, the program, good morning to listeners. The program is a very courageous step by the provincial department led by the MEC upon realizing that there is quite depressed performance scores at grade 4 and grades 8 and 9 in the province. He requested the NECT to investigate what the problem could be. So we went to about 150 schools, randomly sampled, pulled out some books to see what's actually in the books. And what we saw there was quite revealing and instructive. We found that there are quite a significant number of schools that are teaching for much less than what's required. There is much less written work than what the standard requires. And we immediately went back and said, look, this is the problem. Level of effort, time on task, the use of time that's available, and focus on utilizing optimally the texts that are in the classrooms. So she then, with a HOD, requested us to design an intervention that would work with everybody in the province. One, to inject some energy for everybody to increase effort, but secondly, to make sure that there is steps planned to close this gap and they are monitored throughout the year so that the province could be back on track.
So we'll talk a bit more about the interventions you've put in place, but I think the insights you gleaned in that exercise of sampling these schools is quite revealing and telling. So say a bit more about the books that you say you looked at. Is it set works and textbooks and the likes, or did you even take pupils' books, what they write, to sample the level of engagement with the content in written form?
It's largely people's learners' books, exercise books, as well as the freely provided workbooks that the
Yeah.
Department of Basic Education provides. And the truth is that, there are some schools that will go by for a week or two without giving an exercise to a learner or completing any of those very interesting tasks that are in the DBE workbook. So that's quite worrying, because it means the investments that we're putting in the classroom are not optimally utilized. So before we go to anything, including helping teachers to teach better and so on,
Mhm.
we agreed with the MEC and the head of department that we actually need to make sure that we work with everybody to increase the level of effort
Mm.
and the use of the resources that are available.
That's a troubling observation. Did you get to the bottom of why it was that there wasn't that level of engagement in some of these schools? Was it perhaps an issue of teachers being daunted by some of the tasks themselves as they appear in the workbooks and other provided materials?
The best way of getting to the bottom of that is through a qualitative engagement. And that has started since Sunday with 140 circuit managers who have come to one place to be prepared to tackle this problem. So we're starting to ask them, what could be the problem? I mean, the one obvious indication, given that there's a wide range. I mean, there are some schools that are doing very well. I mean, their kids are writing, they're teaching to the absolute, optimum levels. So it shows that there's a possibility to increase these levels of effort and output in the classroom. But it appears, there's just energy, a lump in energy and a lull in energy. And it happens in any big system. Every system, requires a booster from time to time because large systems have a tendency of going through a lull period. So they got to be jacked up to get to SCAV, you know. So I think it was very courageous of Limpopo to have decided to go for this program
Sure.
to try and jack things up again.
So what does that infusion of energy look like? Grades 4, grade 8, and grade 9 are your target.
So the energy revolves around two things. One is emphasis on proper planning and implementation on the one side, right? So that everybody knows we have to teach every day, every little time that's available and give exercises. And we have to monitor that on an ongoing basis, which is the second part of it. Limpopo has embraced a very impressive, concept, which is an alternative approach to accountability. They've embraced the concept and approach of proactive accountability. So you don't wait for the end of the year to find fault and to hit people on their heads. You actually monitor every small things every day, every week, every month, every term, every half a term, so that if gaps emerge, they are attended to promptly. And I think this is an aspect that the Director General of Education also has a glimpse on and is interested in actually observing what Limpopo does and making sure that all the provinces start to go in that direction. Because this looks like a common challenge across our education system.
How will you know when you've succeeded in boosting that energy? What are your markers for success?
Well, end of Jan, once the circuit managers and the subject advisors have gone to school, end of Jan, we're gonna go and see how many exercises are in the books. We're going to tell, by the end of the month how much effort is being put in there, and there are other baselines that we have actually undertaken. We are baselining how many times the circuit offices and the subject advisors have been visiting schools and what they've been doing. That process have to change. Those inputs have to change. We need to see more of the visits. We need to see more of the visits that are focused on learning and teaching. Then we'll know that this business of teaching and learning is being undertaken as expected.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. We wish you all the best of luck. That is Dr. Godwin Khoza, who is the CEO of the National Education Collaboration Trust, that is the NECT. Let's go to Ann Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, ANC NGC to discuss state of its national democratic revolution and IFP's reaction on withdrawal of visa exemption for Palestinians. Good morning. The second day of the ANC's National General Council continues in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg this morning. The ANC NGC is used as a midterm progress report on the state of the organization. Today's program will comprise of commissions which will discuss the state of the national democratic revolution and the balance of forces. Meanwhile, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says the renewal of branches, the primary structure of the party, is central to its revival. Mbalula said this while delivering the party's midterm report.
Over time, many branches became functional only during leadership contests and conference periods. To address this, the branch functionality barometer was developed and piloted in 2023. By the time of the NGC, more than 860 branches had completed the audit, although participation varied significantly across provinces. The barometer is intended to entrench a culture of routine reporting, community engagement, and constitutional compliance, thereby breaking the cycle of conference branches.
Authorities have confirmed 8 initiates have died in the Eastern Cape so far this season. This was confirmed by the Provincial Traditional Affairs Department. Police have opened an inquest docket for each death. Last week, the department also reported that an initiate allegedly hung himself in the Chris Hani district. A suspect has been arrested for allegedly killing and mutilating a 43-year-old man at Ceres in the Boland. Police spokesperson Wesley Twig says the victim's body was found under a bridge.
Ceres police registered a murder case for investigation after the mutilated body of a 43-year-old man was found under a bridge in Voortrekker Road, Ceres. The victim was declared deceased on the scene by medical personnel. The motive for the attack was part of this investigation. Can confirm that an adult male was arrested in connection with the murder.
The fourth accused in the alleged insurance-related murder case in Limpopo is expected to apply for bail in the Polokwane Magistrates Court in Limpopo today. The accused, Johannes Shukane, is the brother of accomplices, former police sergeant Rachel Kutumela and Anna Shukane. The third accused is Rachel Kutumela's daughter Flora. They are accused of killing 9 people and claiming about 10 million rand in insurance payouts. Kokecho Mutau reports.
The accused Johannes Shokani is facing 25 charges, including 9 counts of murder, money laundering, and receiving proceeds of unlawful activities. He will later join his siblings, former police sergeant Rachel Kutumela, his sister Anna Shokani, and Kutumela's daughter Flora Shokani. They allegedly benefited over 10 million rand from the deaths of 9 victims. The matter involving Kutumela and her 2 co-accused has been transferred to the High Court in Polokwane for trial in October next year, while they remain in custody.
The IFP says the withdrawal of the 90-day visa exemption for Palestinians is an indication of how South Africa's migration system has been exploited. The Department of Home Affairs has withdrawn the 90-day visa exemption for ordinary Palestinian passport holders following an investigation and recommendations by the National Intelligence Structures and consultations conducted within the security cluster. The investigation confirmed deliberate and ongoing abuse of the 90-day visa exemption for ordinary Palestinian passport holders by Israeli actors linked to voluntary immigration efforts for residents of the Gaza Strip. IFP MP Nhlanhla Hadebe says the latest findings reveal the poor management of the country's borders.
The latest intelligence findings confirm exactly what we raised at first, that South Africa's immigration system was exploited through organized schemes designed to relocate people from Gaza under the guise of short-term travel. What unfolded at OR Tambo Airport from chartered private flights, one-way tickets, travelers without accommodation or return plans, and intermediaries abandoning them on arrival represents a clear abuse of our laws and a serious security breach. South Africa cannot allow its borders to be manipulated, nor can we carry the burden of poorly coordinated relocation efforts that place both the country and vulnerable travelers.
And finally, another 230 police officers from Kenya have arrived in Haiti as part of a controversial UN-backed security force to tackle gang violence. Their mandate is to fight armed gangs who now control most of the capital and are expanding their presence in central Haiti. Almost 1,000 Kenyan officers have now been deployed. Recapping the top story, the second day of the ANC National General Council continues in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg this morning. Today's program will comprise of commissions, which will discuss the state of the National Democratic Revolution and the balance of forces. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you in the SFM Sport Headlines. Rugby. The Blitzboks are celebrating a breakout performance from rising stars on Wabo Sisui. He says he finally feels like he belongs. And we'll also bring you the Proteas men in action today as they look to build form of next year's packed international calendar. All the details just before 8:30.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes waiting for the microwave to beep. Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 Suzuki Jimny, 55-year-old Stefan now pays only 611 Rand a month. And for her 2024 Kia Sonet, 31-year-old Palisa pays just 926 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. We kick it off in Mid-Rand with a crash on the M1 North, Pretoria bound at Samrand Road, but it's having a big impact on the southbound as well. So queues between Olifantsfontein and Samrand going north, and from Brockfontein down to Samrand coming south. The breakdown before William Mandela, so the N1 from Randburg through Four Ways looking heavy. Also the N3 this morning, just a lot of traffic pressure between the cement factory and Galuli's interchange. Durban side, the N2 North, the breakdown before Gateway has been cleared, easing up that backlog through the airport. Doesn't look too bad either, getting through Spaghetti Junction, Umgena Road through that roadwork section. Bit of traffic around Key Ridge, Cliffdale on your way to Pietermaritzburg, and Cape Town this morning. Some South Peninsula congestion. Baden-Powell approaching Muizenberg very slow, and the main road from Muizenberg heading down through St James busy as well. And still a lot of traffic piling up on the M5 this morning from Ottery, traffic all the way through to Kuiberg interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 9 minutes after 8. Welcome to it, the third hour of the morning brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. All right, the excitement has got me choking. Gosh. All right, so I need to pull myself towards myself. Calm down. Don't get so excited. Let me read a few of your messages that have come through. As I say that, someone moved the mouse and something happened. Kuda in Pinoni says, let's stop portraying Witness D as an angel. While his killing is sad and regrettable, let's not forget that the guy confessed to disposing of a suspect's body in a dam. That is the message there from Kuda. Kuda, I won't read the rest of your message because it's pure speculation, but at the point you're making is well taken. That's Kuda out in Pinoni. And then someone else wants to also weigh in on the ANC and its renewal. And this person says, in fact, no, let me read this one from Lindiwe, who says, the sad thing is that the hitmen won't tell who sent them. The solution is to give them life sentences with no parole. They must rot or die in jail for their master or choose to talk. So that's the stark choice that Lindiwe says should be the choice for those people that were involved in the killing of Witness D. And this is the one I wanted to read from Lucy, who says, I think Lucy is talking about the ANC and what they are saying about, rebuilding their structures and renew the ANC. And Lucy says, when you build, you don't use the same bricks that cause the cracks, says Lucy. So read into that what you will. That is the message there from Lucy. Um, then someone else, Mz, says, talking about the quality of ANC leadership, whether or not they're all corrupt, etc. This person says there are young chaps in the ANC who are very good. Zugo Kodlimpi, Colin says Machila, it should be Malachi, and many more, says Mz. And then someone else was talking about earlier on. I was saying, challenging one of our callers who was saying, oh, was it a voice note? Someone was saying all of them are corrupt. And I was saying that's a perception that the ANC needs to deal with. And I used the word objectively. I said, can you objectively say all ANC members are corrupt? And I said, you simply cannot say that. This person says objective means numbers proven, right? I don't know if that's what it means, but let's go on. So in the ANC top 8, how many people are linked to corruption? Further, how many municipal leaders have been linked to corruption? If number of corrupt leaders is greater than those not so corrupt leaders, then numbers permit us to use the word all to refer to them all as corrupt. Thanks, says AB. And AB, without realizing, you are actually emphasizing the point I was making, that objectively speaking, if you were to do a census of ANC members, ANC leaders, you would find that there's a good number who are not corrupt. But because the perception has been entrenched by experience, the perception is entrenched. That is what the ANC is grappling and dealing with at the moment. That is the difficulty that they have. No matter how they package the message of renewal, no matter how they try and say we're making a clean break with the past experience continues to inform how those efforts are being perceived and how the ANC as a whole is being perceived. So thank you for that. That's AB there weighing in. Do call me 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The third hour of the morning brief on this Tuesday starts now.
The Blues believe the only way to breathe closer to the summit is to triumph and ensure there's joy at Stamford Bridge.
Clipping it. Neto! Yes. Fantastic goal. Great ball gettings. From a player in real form, left wing to right wing to back of the net.
While the Toffees refuse to underrate the power of 3 points.
Dewsbury Hall still has it and scores a beauty. Delightful to blast Everton in front at Old Trafford.
This is the Premier League. Do not miss out on Chelsea FC versus Everton FC on Saturday, 13 December at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let's go straight to the calls. Let me start with Alba in Sky City. Alba, I've been wanting to ask you, where is Sky City? It sounds like a nice place, man. It sounds like the place to be.
It is a very, very nice place.
Yeah.
Palm Ridge Magistrate Court.
On your Palm Ridge. Oh, yes. I see.
Yes. Ukandet meneer Simelane.
Good, thank you. Ukandet. Please go ahead.
You know, and let me tell you something. The people remember when General Santam is a president, they accused the politicians, the judiciary, and law enforcement. Now, witness D is being killed as a witness. But previously, he was in law enforcement agency. Now, the judiciary has been accused. I believe that as a country, we are being taken for a ride with the Madlanga Commission. So that Madlanga himself is one of the people who is now.
No, Alba, wait. What proof do you have? You didn't say might.
Oh, I'm very
And
sorry.
that's also casting aspersions based on what? What's the basis of you making that allegation?
Because the judiciary was accused
Yes.
Police were accused,
Yes.
and then politicians.
Yes.
Now,
But
if
what
they are
makes you
being accused, we
point a
don't.
specific judge?
No, no, no. I'm sorry, because what I said, I wanted to say might be,
We must be careful though,
because
Alba. You know, a lot of the times, let me make this point. A lot of the
yes,
times we end up having to discipline each other and call each other out, and it's truly unnecessary. It detracts from the point that you are seeking to make.
that I'm trying to make. Okay.
I don't like jumping in and all of that.
Yeah,
I
no,
want to hear
I get your
you
point.
and hear your
I
point.
get
Yeah,
your point.
please go
Yes,
ahead.
yes. You might find that maybe he or even the people that is working with are on the corrupt among the corrupt officials. Even now, and the report is going to be taken to the president, and you might still find that even the president is among those corrupt people. So you have got the judiciary in the judiciary and law enforcement agencies who is going to submit to the political official. And if say the person that they are going to submit to is among the corrupt and the people who is doing the investigation, which is the people that are the corrupt people, how are we sure that on the actual report, the findings is going to be true? Because right now we don't know who is corrupt and who is not corrupt.
So what's
Even
the
among the
alternative?
politicians.
How else would we get to the bottom of what was put on the table for us if we didn't go this route of a judicial commission of inquiry, compiling a report which serves on the table of the president? What's the alternative path we should have taken?
The other alternative was to say, because if present evidence, whether this is why we will. So you present it to the court of law. Those people who are being accused, they are charged. They are in prison. Because right now, for example,
But they're charged by prosecutors and served before a judge
yes,
in the same system that has been accused.
but you can always appeal. You can always appeal.
I see.
I'm saying that we are being taken for a ride because
All right.
experience in the country has shown us that nothing.
All right. I hear you, Alba. I think I get the point you're making, that go down the criminal prosecution path, which would have been rather different from a judicial commission of inquiry. Thank you for that. That's Alba in Sky City. I'll make time and take more of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes a bit later on.
FlySafair is flying into summer, and so should you, with 175 daily flights to 15 sun-soaked destinations. Early bird, midday meanderer, or night owl. Whatever your travel style is, with more flights, more often to more places, you can start your holiday whenever it suits you. From seaside chills to mountain thrills, it's time to pick your favorite holiday hotspot and go. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
You could spend 10 minutes trying to fix the office printer or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For her 2025 Hyundai Exter, 65-year-old Helena now pays only 398 Rand a month. And for her 2024 Haval H6 4x4, 50-year-old Priya pays just 1,178 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
All right, let's get into some international diplomacy, but with a twist that relates to water services and water infrastructure. South Africa is stepping onto the global water governance stage as Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, Thulasizwe Simelane, leads the country's delegation at a high-level international regulators forum in Bangkok, Thailand. The visit comes as sweeping water law reforms gain momentum here at home. Let's speak to the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, Thulasizwe Simelane, who joins us now. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. It's the 10th International Water Regulators Forum. Why is this forum important and why are we as South Africa taking it so seriously and attending?
Thank you so much, and good afternoon to listen to the SAFM listeners. Quite correctly, as you indicated in your opening remarks, we are undertaking water sector reforms in South Africa, which includes the amendment to key legislations that focus on water in South Africa, that is the Water Services Act, as well as the National Water Act. And because of this, we need to obviously align ourselves with international standards, particularly as it relates to the Sustainable Development Goal number 6. And in the context of this particular Congress here, when we look at the issues around sanitation, which is Sustainable Development Goal SDG 6.2, which is what we are focused on here in relation to just benchmarking with other nations on how are we doing in as far as these particular reforms are concerned, and whether this will in actual fact be very practical in allowing us to be able to get closer to achieving SDG number 6.
So, how important is that work of benchmarking in the context of the law, water law and services reforms that you're talking about?
Yeah. You'll recall that we've just recently launched the special purpose vehicle in Emfuleni local municipality, and the Water Services Act in its amendments seeks to obviously move towards a utility model. And part of the conversations that we are having in this particular Congress with other role players in the international space is precisely how the utility model actually works in their own countries, and whether this particular model that we are obviously piloting with Mfuleni is the way to go, particularly given that we seek to professionalize the water sector in South Africa so that we can be able to work towards public-private partnerships, make it easier for investment to actually take place in South Africa, and making sure that we've got independent utilities, particularly also in the context of the Metropolitan Trading Service Program. It is a reform by the National Treasury as per Operation Vulindlela 2.0. So I suppose by and large, if you look at those particular reforms that we're currently undertaking and those amendments that we are making, we're benchmarking those and looking at how other countries are actually be able to formalize and move forward with the utility.
So issues of water also intersect with issues of sustainability, including climate resilience. Are we at a point as a country where we are grappling with that, or as it relates to water specifically? I know we are grappling with it in many other ways, and we grapple with it in terms of environmental laws. But are we at a point where we're talking climate resilience as it relates to water, such that we can plug into those global conversations?
That is definitely the conversation, and you would realize that water security forms a greater conversation in these gatherings. If you look at, for example, the fact that in South Africa, if you look at the province of Gauteng, in terms of the water use there, it's almost double the number of the acceptable international or global standards. And because we're also undertaking the issue of the completion of the Lesotho Highlands project, phase 2 of that, which obviously will seek to bring in more water from Lesotho into South Africa. Those are some of the things that when we talk about climate resilient infrastructure, that's what we are referring to. But over and above that, I think one of the key aspects that's actually taking center stage in this particular Congress is the issue of what we refer to as water efficient sanitation solutions, which I must emphasize, and I must say that South Africa, through the Water Research Commission, working with the Bill Gates Foundation, as well as the University of KwaZulu-Natal, are one of the top leaders in water efficient sanitation solutions, which is one of the awards that was actually given to Jay Bhagwan of the Water Research Commission yesterday during the opening of this particular Congress. So fundamentally and otherwise, those are the key themes and sub-themes that are centered around what we are also then focusing on in South Africa, including transboundary relations that we also have with countries of Lesotho, Namibia, and Botswana, and ourselves, of course.
So lastly, Deputy Minister, I do want to come back to the reforms that we're talking about. Someone listening might be saying, how does all of this change the fact of people not having clean drinking water in communities where ordinarily, especially in urban communities where the infrastructure, you understand, should have been laid years ago, everything should be in place. So you tell me a bit more about how these reforms you're talking about change that situation that many people, including in cities like Joburg, continue to grapple with?
So let's just focus perhaps then for purposes of responding to this question on the metropolitan municipalities such as Johannesburg. And I've mentioned the metropolitan trading reforms that are being introduced by National Treasury, which are incentive-based performance programs. So what we're seeking to do, we're trying to isolate Johannesburg Water, for example, and make it an independent water utility that will have its own budget, that will have be responsible for its own supply chain management, that will be able to be responsible for its own human resources. Currently, that is not the case. And these particular reforms then seek to then professionalize Joburg Water, for example, so that it can be able to attract that investment that is so much needed in order to be able to address the issue of infrastructure. Just as an example. So that reform in itself is quite fundamental. The SPV that was launched in Mfuleni in partnership with Rand Water as a public-public partnership is also quite significant, but it's because it seeks to do the same. Because if we are not going to professionalize the water sector in South Africa, we're going to be subjected to the issues of the water tanker mafias. We're going to be subjected to issues of illegal connections. We're going to be subjected to the continued unlimited water that is being provided to households and businesses. We're going to be subjected to the high losses of water, which of course we refer to as non-revenue water. So that is why I think it's fundamentally important that we are able to amend our legislation so that we can be able to also separate the functions of a water services authority and a water services provider.
All right, I've got to thank you for that. That's Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, Thulasizwe Simelane, who is out in Bangkok in Thailand, in case you're wondering why he said, hey, good afternoon. And that's because of the difference in time zone, attending the 10th International Water Regulators Forum.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. So Nwabo Sokoi is the name that I should note and write down in permanent marker, yeah?
Yes, like you always say, it really does roll off the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly he's rolling defenders too. So yes, remember that name. Blink once and he's scoring. Blink twice and he's lifting a trophy. That's exactly what this young game changer did. Blitzbokker are reveling after uncovering this new star from the 23-year-old Ronwabo Sakoi. He delivered a dream debut. The Cape Town Sevens was called up at the last minute. He scored twice against Britain and then produced the match-changing try in the final. South Africa defended their title. Let's go to Proteas batter. David Miller says the upcoming SA20 will be vital preparation for next year's T20 World Cup. Miller is back from a hamstring injury and returns to the national side for the India series starting today, 3:30. The 36-year-old says the standard of the SA20 will help sharpen key combinations. South Africa looks to build momentum.
I think the standard in the competition there in SA20 is as high as any other league that you can get around the world. Comparing it to international series, I think you can't really compare with that because so the schedule so works out that that's how it is. But in terms of prep, I think the guys are going to be playing in front of packed houses, crowds back at home. Said the overseas players are all going to be in. So the guys will definitely be tested personally and individually and whatever it is. And then I think there's a West Indies are coming to South Africa as well just before the guys go. So there will be a couple of games there. I think it's good enough prep.
Go to soccer where the Mozambique veteran Elias Palemba, known as Dominguez, is set to make history this month's Africa Cup of Nations after being named in the squad at the age of 42. If he features, he'll become the second oldest player ever to play at AFCON behind Egypt, Sam Hadri. And we also bring you news from the African continent with former Cameroon coach Mark Rice has accused the FIFA president Samuel Eto'o influencing player selection for AFCON 2025, including the admission of stars Andre Onana and Vincent Abubakar. Rice, still contracted to the Ministry of Sport, says he received no formal communication about his own dismissal and insists the decision had nothing to do with football. Finally, athletics, where Athletics South Africa says it's working to manage the surge in marathon events nationwide. Road running chair Enoch Sasana told the SABC Sport that organizers must apply for national list approval to avoid clashes and ensure support for the top athletes. That's your sport. We'll be back at the top around 12:30 with John Helica. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning. I'm Anne Musa in the headlines. KwaZulu-Natal MEC for Education, Sipho Hlomoka, has welcomed the findings by the Special Investigation Unit into the awarding of a contract for chemical toilets in 2020. The SIU found the contract, valued at over 2.5 million rand, was awarded irregularly and extended unlawfully. The second day of the ANC National General Council continues in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg this morning. Today's program will comprise of commissions which will discuss the state of the national democratic revolution and the balance of forces. And the head of the European Commissioner, Ursula von der Leyen, has stressed that Ukraine's long-term security must be guaranteed in any peace talks with Russia after meeting with President Zelensky. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Stays busy on the M1 North up through Midrand. An earlier crash by Samrand Road has traffic queuing back through Olifantsfontein, and perhaps a little bit of an onlook at the scene coming southbound. So from Old Joburg Road, passing that crash at Samrand, the N1 stays busy all the way down to about the New Road exit. Still a bit of pressure on the M12 and R24 roads coming into Galulis. And if you're swinging off the R21 onto the N12 down towards Barber Road, there are some roadworks going on there. It's likely to be busy all day, I would think, with that one. Talking about all-day delays, that is Marion Hill Plaza these days. Don't be at all surprised to find yourself queuing up at the plaza to get through to Durban. Sometimes it runs okay, like now it's not too bad, but other times you can just sit there for no apparent reason. A little bit of pressure on the N3 into Pavilion. Looks like some altered roadworks there, just causing a delay. And that seems to be a feature on Durban's N2 and N3 upgrades. A bit of a push, I sense, before the sort of construction holiday, which always ties in with the public holiday around the 16th. So maybe just getting things tidied up and prepared for the big volume that's coming a little bit later this month. So that means just some delays through those construction zones where you don't normally get delayed unless there's a breakdown or a crash. Quite heavy up through Somerset West this morning, in and out of Cape Town. No traffic lights at Onverwacht Road. Quite a way to get through that section of the N2. And just a little bit closer into Cape Town, the N1 still fairly showing fairly high volumes from N1 City Paro all the way through to the city centre. There is a crash on the side of the road there at Monte Vista. And the M5 is an unusual queue for this time of morning, still under pressure from Kenilworth up towards the N1 Cooper. Get a change. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
One more time, Ndauling. Good morning to you. Let's start in the retail sector as Zalma starts singing one more time in the background. Let's start. Daft Punk. One more time. One more time. Let me try this. Spa, you're saying they're nearing the end of their streamlining efforts, yeah?
They're giving it one more time. I had to. The retailer is beginning to find again after a bruising 2 years to us, helped by a cleanup of its balance sheet. A SPAR has cut its net by 40% to 5.4 billion rands after selling its loss-making operations in Europe and the UK and tightening working capital controls. Now that improvement gives management some breathing room, but the board is still holding back a dividend. CEO Angelo Swart says the group is being cautious and may opt share buyback instead, arguing that SPAR's shares are trading well below what the company believes they're worth. Locally, operations are stabilizing after this SAP breakdown at the KwaZulu-Natal distribution center, which had caused severe supply issues. Revenue from continuing operations grew modestly, up 1.6%. The sort of says the next phase of the turnaround hinges on executing the remaining SAP rollout without any disruption.
Tell me a bit more about Nampak's turnaround strategy. You're saying it's continuing to gain momentum.
That's right, Thulasizwe. Gold beverage can business emerging as a standout performer. The division has swung firmly into growth mode, helping the group rebuild value after some difficult years. Strong demand in the Southern African country, plus new lines coming online in the DRC, has opened market space, allowing Nampak to pick up unused capacity and push into export volumes. That an outlook for the company reversed 351 million rands in earlier impairments, while the Angolan unit lifted earnings by 30%, 360 million rands. The broader group is also looking far more stable. It has been cut to just over 2 billion rand, just over half of what it was a year ago, supported by strong earnings in a series of disposals across the continent. Now, for the full year period, revenue rose to 10.7 billion rand, and headline earnings within tripled. Just like Farm, the board is holding on its payout, so declaring no dividend payout for shareholders this time around.
Lastly, Dowling, wrap up everything you've told us this morning and set the scene for us for the kind of trading day we can expect on this Tuesday.
Looking at the JSC, local markets likely to remain in it for peers ahead of the Fed's last monetary policy meeting of the year. There's a slow news day on the local front. All eyes are on international developments. That, of course, being that upcoming Fed meeting that's also driving currency moves. Rand back of downbeat movement at 17.04 greenback per hour. Oil also softer, down 0.2% and trading just under $62 a barrel. But equities monetary policy remains under the spotlight as we await the meeting. Of course, futures are flat, while stocks in Asia are on track to close mostly negative territory today as caution takes hold in equity markets.
Hey, Dowling, guess what?
Yes, 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 yes.
Right, Dowling, thank you for that. Thank you for doing it one more time. That's Dowling Lechela. Updating you with business, economics, and the markets throughout the morning.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
All right, let's turn to the country's rental property market, which we're told is flashing warning signs as more tenants fall behind on their monthly payments. The latest data shows non payment creeping upward, another signal of how stretched household finances have become. Experts say the uncomfortable truth is this: many people are living beyond what they can now afford. Let's speak to Carlo Mariani, who is a property entrepreneur and founder of the Property Coach. Good morning to you, Carlo, and thank you for your time. So, what does this new data tell us from TPN about the affordability and the extent to which people are keeping up with the payments of their rentals?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to all SFM listeners. Well, I think the article, or at least the title of the article, is a bit misleading. Truth is that the rental market in 2025 has had a really, really positive year. And why so? Well, first of all, the growth in rentals has been very solid, very close to 5%, which is in excess of current inflation rate. That has been the first time for quite some time, for too long, I would say. So that's an important indicator of the rental market. So going back to, let's call it, arrears and the number of tenants that are not paying. Now, if we look at the long-term average, it's always been for the last 7 to 9 years in the 6 to 7%, and currently it's sitting at 6% range. So nothing particularly strong in terms of negative trend, but it is important to note that positive landlords need to make plans around the fact that 6 to 7% of the market is not going to pay.
Do the market conditions conduce for that? If you're a property investor, for you to be able to create those kinds of buffers that take into account the reality that somewhere in the region of 6 to 7% of tenants will be behind in terms of their rental payments?
Well, what is important is that averages, you know what they say about averages is lies bigger than averages. So, um, what is important for a property investor is to make sure that we know what we need to do to comfortably and significantly beat those averages. And there are simple strategies that one can put in place to do so. And if you want, I can certainly share some of those strategies that are very applicable to the retail investor.
Sure, please go ahead.
Absolutely. I think if I look at the mistakes too many property investors are making is that they don't properly do screening of the tenants. And the reason for doing so is because they don't give their letting mandate to enough agents. So normally they would just go and give a mandate to an agency. Well, they're all going to list property themselves. So what is the point of giving it to two or three agents? And three agents is actually the number one, they call it the number just my investors. By doing so, you can actually get more applicants, and when you get more applicants, you get more choices. You can choose better quality tenants and dramatically reduce the amount of late payments and non-payments by your tenants once they take occupation of your property.
So let's talk then about the market broadly. What are the factors that are moving the property investment market? The whole issue around interest rates and where that is headed. You're saying that actually this year has been quite positive.
It has been indeed a very positive year for the property market. We've seen house prices again well in excess of inflation. And at the end of the day, we tend to sweat interest rates a bit too much because interest rates are fundamentally a short-term cycle, which has been happening since ever and will continue to be happening since ever. What dramatically impacts the property market is supply and demand. And we have very strong demand as a function of critical long-term trends such as mass urbanization, um, such as the growth in population, such as increase in household formation. At the same time, supply has been under a lot of pressure because we know from data, from example, from statistics SA, pipeline of new buildings, the pipeline of new construction is at very low level. So the supply and demand dynamics are such that it is highly likely we're going to continue to see solid growth, both in terms of house price growth and in terms of rental growth, unless something changes in terms of those fundamentals of supply and demand.
But in terms of personal finances and the state of incomes and the exposure of consumers in as far as debt is concerned, taking up about what 28% of net household income. Where does that leave the investor thinking about that? That those are some of the realities you are grappling with, an economy that is lackluster in its performance.
Well, the economy hasn't been, particularly booming for quite some time. With all of that in mind, the property market, the residential property market, has continued to show its strength and resilience despite the odds. And if you look at the fundamentals of affordability, probably with the exception of the Western Cape, the affordability both for first-time buyers and renters is at very, very good levels because we have started to see some income growth and the affordability is there. So I don't see any particular deterioration or sort of red lights signaling risk or a higher level of risk moving forward.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time. Your insights always appreciated. Carlo Mariani, property entrepreneur, founder of The Property Coach.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Let me go to your WhatsApp voice notes. Let me start with this one. Believe it or not, the debate about whether all ANC members are corrupt.
Good morning, Tulas. Tulas, just a comment about your comment about not all ANC cadres or comrades are corrupt. Of course, they won't be, or not all. But there was a study some years ago, and they said 80% of the parliamentarians are corrupt, but because of need, they could not be dealt with. So now, just want to let you know that obviously the 99% give a bad name to the rest.
Yes.
Thank you.
I simply cannot add to what you are saying. Even those who know in their heart of hearts, people that will say to you, investigate me. Go ahead, launch your best investigation. I'm simply not involved in any corruption. They must deep down know that by association, they continue to have those problems. Remember the phrase that the ANC president used a couple of years ago when it comes to corruption, the ANC is accused number one. You're absolutely spot on. It is partly that perception that, even those who know that they are not corrupt, well, they have to live with it because they are in an organization that has been characterized by a prevalence of corruption.
Good morning, Tulas and Ferris FM. This is Whiskey here. Tulas, look, the notion that all ANC leaders are corrupt is wrong. Tulas, I'm a branch chairperson of the ANC myself. I work in the private sector. Honestly, so I earn my living and I lead my people with integrity and honesty. I serve my community with integrity and love. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a neat narrative. It's quite neat to say, they're all corrupt, but it doesn't challenge us to grapple with the fact that it just can't be. It's simply not possible. That's why I said earlier on, perhaps the word objectively is not the word I'm looking for, but it's just not possible, is it? Yes, a critical mass or a large number will be people who are corrupt or don't do things the right way. But to then just label everyone, these neat narratives don't always conduce to proper understandings of some of these issues.
Good morning, Mr. Thulasizwe Simelane. I don't know why ANC clinics, if it supports declines. South Africa is a democratic
Mhm.
whereby the party has only two terms or one terms,
Yeah.
depending on how that party is governing the country.
Yes.
If people choose to vote for another party, let it be. Thank you.
I hear you. But if you are selling something, you want people to buy from you. You know they have options that they could buy from someone else. So the marketplace of ideas, political ideas and governance, you are showcasing your wares to say, this is what I'm selling. This is why I am good and you should continue to elect me. And then, you are seeing people more and more moving to other stalls and skipping yours. That's why they are panicking when their numbers are on the decline. Let me take the traffic update with Rob, and no, not ready yet. All right, let me take a call from JJ in Polokwane. JJ, good morning.
Tulas, good morning, good morning.
Mm.
Let me start by saying, if the only tool that one have, he will treat everything as if it were a nail, everything, because the only tool that he has is a hammer.
Yes, so everything has to be a nail, whether or not it is.
Yes, yes, it will be like that. And that is the fruit of what I once spoke to you about, the Bantu education. Bantu education taught us as Africans to see everything as if it's a nail. That's why even now when we talk about the ANC as corrupt, although you have tried your best from last week indicate that is not the system. People see it that way. And to tell you the honest truth, the 99% of the people who are calling complaining about the ANC are the beneficiaries of the policies that the ANC has put in place, including the calling into the radio. It is not something that came from nowhere. It has been worked on. You'll remember very well that there was a man called Reddy, Govan Reddy,
Yeah.
who was he was part of the communication in the ANC, and he crossed over to SABC. And even yesterday, I saw you sitting with Dr. Sinokizi Kalala, and
Yes.
I was happy you acknowledged that I worked with you here,
Yes.
and you are a doctor. So the Bantu education taught us not to see the relationship between things, so
Yeah.
that we can appreciate.
Yeah.
That's why the route that we are taking,
Mhm.
get it from me, we are destroying ourselves
Gotcha.
because the education that we were given was meant to destroy
All right,
ourselves.
JJ, I've got to move on. Thank you for that. That's
Great.
JJ in Polokwane. Let me take a quick traffic update and then I'll continue with your calls and WhatsApp voice notes.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. A check on the M1 and that earlier crash at Samrad. It's basically out of the way. Traffic is starting to move through there. A little bit of tight on the southbound side, Old Joburg Road, down towards New Road. Just looks like a pressure of traffic just slightly changing the time that it might travel, I think. The N3 north from Germiston up through Galuli is quite slow. The N3 south to Van Buren is also being held up as well. There are some roadworks in place at Van Buren, and that appears just to be holding you up on the N12 and R24. It's coming in from Ekurhuleni for connections onto the N3 at the interchange. The R24 coming out of the airport, roadworks down by Barber Road causing delays, and the R21 north at Olifantsfontein, some roadworks pushing on there as well with some delays as you approach Clayville. Roadworks coming away from Amanzamtoti up at Tweeny Hill if you're Durban bound on the N2. Bit of extra work to get through there this morning. And Cape Town still fairly heavy on the N1 from around about Hilbersson, N1 city territory, all the way through to the city centre. The M5 is a very unusual queue for this time of morning, still clogged between Kenilworth and the Kuburg interchange, and the N2 inbound. A crash at Bunga Avenue, and then delays once you pass that through to Hospital Bend. Also, don't forget those lights out Somerset West Gordons Bay area, N2 at Onvavak. It's quite a heavy backlog of traffic in some high volume without those traffic lights. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
FlySafair is flying into summer, and so should you, with 175 daily flights to 15 sun-soaked destinations. Early bird, midday meanderer, or night owl. Whatever your travel style is, with more flights, more often, to more places, you can start your holiday whenever it suits you. From seaside chills to mountain thrills, it's time to pick your favorite holiday hotspot and go. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
This week on BBC Primetime, watching TV could make you a winner. It's the BBC Primetime Watch and Win competition. Just tune into your BBC Primetime shows, answer a few simple questions on S3's TikTok account, and you could walk away with awesome prizes. From thrilling dramas to jaw-dropping reality shows, the more you watch, the more chances you have to win. Watch, answer, win. Only on BBC Primetime. Airs weeknights 9 to 11 p.m. on S3. Your couch just became the best seat in the game.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, someone else on the WhatsApp line says, everyone in the ANC who keeps quiet while knowing their colleagues are corrupt, they are part of the corruption. So all the ANC are corrupt, every single one of them. I take that point that you are making, and then someone else goes on to say to me, you are a lover of the ANC, Thulasizwe. People have a right to observe ANC as corrupt without individualizing two things. Individualizing was about a different conversation, not about the ANC. I did not ask people to individualize the allegation of corruption. It was someone who was talking about Justice Madlanga. So two separate conversations. Secondly, lover of the ANC. If that's all you've picked up from this conversation, I'm saluting. My hand is lifted to my temple. Salute, proceed. Let us not get in your way. If that's all you picked up from this morning's conversation, hey, Bagwit, there's nothing I can do. Let me go to calls. Debucho in Joburg. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much. At the motivation, the about thank you. And the the that the or your delivery then also support as the
Yes.
now very very very. But if you intimidate, you get to look at the intervention that is in place. Only the shop is, but also I want to see an organization up there get with knowledge as opposed to closing ranks. Closing ranks is also something to use. For me, that's the
Mhm.
more organization is what I go to
All right.
ownership of the sector.
All right, Debucho, thank you for that. Straight and sharp and to the point. Maxwell in Swane, good morning.
Good morning, Tulas, and thanks for taking my call. Tulas, it doesn't mean that the ANC, when it has made those policies relevant for people to live life nicely, we must not criticize them.
Yes.
The same Bantu
absolutely.
education, if you see people who came from that Bantu education, they are more successful than nobody else. Look at the current rate of the metric is 50%. In Bantu education, it was 50%. So let's not come with something that is not there. But my point for calling the ANC, it can renew itself only if the people who are within the ANC they are honest with themselves.
Yeah.
They failed to see for service delivery desmond. There's no road in some of the province. You have to feel that you are picking your car in your head or so. So the day the ANC realized that talking is cheap,
yes.
they need to deliver service to our people. You mentioned the issue of the tanks.
Yes.
Those issues that are eating large on them. That's why they will never bother.
The water
to
tanker
put
mafias.
the water tank mafias. They won't bother to put boreholes to the more community that are needing the water because those community are seen as the milking cow for them and their colleagues to make money in that regard. ANC is a good organization, but within itself, there are a lot of rods that they need to iron out. And they're talking about corruption to listen without doing nothing about it equals to zero. My last point before we go, those who are saying cheating, to us, they must not forget that cheating, if men didn't cheat, some of them, they won't be alive to.
Hi, man, Maxwell. What are you talking about now? That's Maxwell inside. The way that conversation took a turn, an unexpected turn with that theme on cheating. Michael, you're my last caller. Short and sharp for me, please, if you don't mind.
Good morning, Julius. I think the previous caller has covered most of the things. I wanted to say, I hope you don't take it personally. We're starting to sound like in general,
Yeah.
obviously not saying we can have, but in general, our
Yes.
organization is corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
What we've seen in the HSS, like that in the military, it's like that in all the SOEs, it's like that in most of the government. Not in some of us that live in those areas. So it is generally corrupt.
Yeah.
I think the ANC will never move forward.
Yeah.
My last point, it's not like to make a noise, maybe like a soft point. We as South Africans, we like an abused woman who's in a relationship. Everybody keeps saying, you want to leave this man. They will remember that you want to fund. But we have to acknowledge that ANC is a position we need to move away from. Unless we change it, what is there today? Almost like it seems the problem is not the branches. Currently, ANC don't need branches of campaigning in profit.
Mm.
It needs to work institution in a public institution.
Yeah.
That is they're spending money on that. There's nothing a branch member is going to come. Any offer convince you that you need to vote for ANC. Well, it's the main advertisement, the main campaign, the movement, the public
All right.
institution that is.
Michael, thank you for that. Michael, thank you for that. And the criticism you give of me is well taken. But I do believe that in terms of making the point I was making, I've clarified as much as possible. So I take the point you are making. But yeah, I think I've said enough about what the distinction was that I was seeking to draw. And if I came across as a ANC spokesperson, well, that was the last thing on my mind. It was about a specific contention that said all ANC members are corrupt that I was seeking to address. That the organization is corrupt, they've said so themselves. That generally it has become an organization characterized by corruption. I think everyone accepts, including the ANC themselves. Well, we have to leave it there. Thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for listening and for your robust engagements as always. The Talking Point with Kathy Muhlahlana up next here on SAFM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
In our top stories, Kailicha shack fire claims 3 lives and 16 education staff face disciplinary over irregular tender. Good morning. 3 people have been killed in a shack fire in the Blowy informal settlement in Kailicha on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Wesley Twig says the bodies of the deceased were found in the debris after the fire services extinguished the blaze. He says an inquest has been opened and they're probing the cause of the fire. In the Eastern Cape, authorities have confirmed 8 initiates have died so far this season. This was confirmed by the Provincial Traditional Affairs Department. Police have opened an inquest docket for each death. Last week, the department also reported that an initiate allegedly hung himself in the Chris Hani district. KwaZulu-Natal MEC for Education, Sipho Hlomoka, has welcomed the findings by the Special Investigating Unit into the awarding of a contract for chemical toilets in 2020. The SIU found the contract, valued at over R2.5 million, was awarded irregularly to the service provider and extended unlawfully. The department has been ordered to institute disciplinary action against 16 officials who were involved in the awarding of the contract. The service providers also expected to pay back the money and the profits earned from the contract. Spokesperson for the MEC, Mlungi Simchali, says the department will comply with the SIU's directives.
The MEC has also directed the department to comply fully and to support the SIU in making sure that the recovery of losses suffered by the department are fully recovered. As a department, we must support the SIU's legal action to recover irregular profits and to hold service providers accountable for overcharging and failing to deliver on services as contracted.
The second day of the ANC's National General Council continues in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg this morning. The ANC NGC is used as a midterm progress report on the state of the organization. Today's program will comprise of commissions which will discuss the state of the national democratic revolution and the balance of forces. Meanwhile, the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says the renewal of branches, the primary structure of the party, is central to its revival. Mbalula said this while delivering the party's midterm report.
Over time, many branches became functional only during leadership contests and conference periods. To address this, the branch functionality barometer was developed and piloted in 2023 By the time of the NGC, more than 860 branches had completed the audit, although participation varied significantly across provinces. The barometer is intended to entrench a culture of routine reporting, community engagement, and constitutional compliance, thereby breaking the cycle of conference branches.
And finally, the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has stressed Ukraine's long-term security must be guaranteed in any peace talks with Russia, following a meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky. The Ukrainian leader is on a tour of European capitals to show up support over concerns the US-backed peace proposal favors Moscow. The BBC's James Landale has the details.
For all the talks of recent weeks, much remains unknown about the detail of any potential deal. Outstanding issues are what security guarantees Ukraine may get to deter future Russian attack, and Moscow's demand for the last parts of Donbass Ukraine controls. Chancellor Merz of Germany said he was sceptical about some of the details he'd seen in documents coming from the US side, but he said the talks were reaching a decisive stage and the outcome was open.
Recapping the top story, 3 people have been killed in a shack fire in the Blowy informal settlement in Kailicha on the Cape Flats. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
The Playhouse Company proudly presents a Christmas celebration. One performance only on Saturday, 20 December at 3 p.m. featuring Ayanda Ntanzi, Don Laka, Timothy Malloy, the powerful KwaZulu-Natal Philharmonic Orchestra, the Playhouse Chorale, and many more incredible artists. Tickets from just 200 Rand. Book at WebTickets. The ultimate spectacular Christmas show. Bold, brilliant, and not to be missed. Only at the Playhouse Company.
The women Proteas want to celebrate summer and the festive with victory. But the Irish are confident they will prevail on SA soil. Catch the first T20 match between South Africa and Ireland on Friday, 5 December at 1:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Action continues in the second T20 on Sunday, 7 December at 1:30 p.m. on SABC2. Then the two nations will close the curtain on an exhilarating note in the third T20 encounter on Wednesday, 10 December at 6 p.m. on SABC3. All 3 live matches are available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
I don't love going to school. I don't love sitting in a classroom with 50 other children. But I do love learning. Ngiyakuthanda ukufunda isiXhosa as a language. I do love getting good grades. I do love UCT Online High School because I do love my future. Apply online before 19 December.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
So for Black people, our name is our constitution. That's on an individual level, but it's also on a collective level. So if my name is Obadele, it literally translates to the king arrives at the house. When my parents give me that name, there are certain expectations that come from that because your name is expected to define you, direct you, delineate. It's expected to destine. It's supposed to do all of these various things for you. So that's on an individual level. But then on a collective level, what we call ourselves, it also is supposed to have an impact. So in Yoruba, they would say Urukon Roni, which is the name that's having a deep psychological impact on the person. You understand? In Kiswahili, they say ukiridi jina ridi na mambo yake. That's he who inherits a name also adopts its affairs, right? That's to say, if you have a name, then it's expected that that name is going to have an impact on you. So someone who's born on Thursday, Yao Berima, you're expected to be brave because it's like saying Yao the brave man, right? That's the connotation. So if you're called Yao Berima, then someone say, wouldn't the Yao Berima partner what you say? Like, how are you Yao Berima and you're such a coward, right? It's like that doesn't match, right? But then one of the highest accolades that someone can give to you in the tree language, you would say, Nidin and Honam se. Nidin and Honam se, which is to say this person's name and their body resemble each other.
Okay, I was expecting that it would go on a little bit longer. This is one of those, as a motivation clip, it needs us to be putting on our PhD hats so that we can fully unpack the essence of what is being said. That is Professor Obenfo Obadele Kambon. He is an associate professor at the Institute of African Studies at the University of Ghana. You're listening to The Talking Point. It's 10 after 9 o'clock. Welcome, welcome to the show. I'm Kathy Mutlahlana, and as always, I'll be with you until midday as we lead conversations that move us. Well, this week, one of the stories that, of course, we are watching is the A is the National General Council of the ANC that's being held in Boksburg this week. And this is really um, an NGC that is taking place amidst so much that the governing party is having to confront as an organization, to confront in terms of its future, but also confront in the midst of all of these rumors about whether or not President Cyril Ramaphosa will stay or he'll go. Do you think that those rumors have now been effectively dealt with? Do you think President Cyril Ramaphosa is not going anywhere? This, of course, is meant to serve as a way for the party to really assess itself in between its national conferences. So it's seen as a litmus test, particularly when we look at the role of the leadership of the ANC. How are the branches feeling? What are the branches saying? And I think that it's well recorded historically that when we saw the ousting of former President Thabo Mbeki and the subsequent recall of the former President Jacob Zuma, the NGCs were really a litmus test in terms of giving the indications from the branches about how people felt around the leadership and what they thought needed to happen next. So it is one of those gatherings where often, the individual branch members, it's not very often where they will break form with the party. So what then members of the media end up relying on is from the official statements that are being made from the podium or the officials that have been given the clear to actually speak officially to the media, right? But it doesn't mean that in the midst of all of that, there aren't those that are having other conversations and perhaps giving a bit of insight into what is happening in the background. And you would see that much of it also is to really try and affirm this message and to rebut or refute the allegations that there will be anything within this NGC that would suggest that President Cyril Ramaphosa will not continue once it is done. Nonetheless, it has sparked, I think, a very important conversation about the state of the ANC today. Um, this NGC takes place during a time where this country is in the grip of having to confront its ghosts. What are these ghosts? These ghosts are the ways in which power intersect, the political, the economic, the security cluster. That is what we have been confronted with. And unfortunately for the ANC, it is its members that have been deployed, particularly within the state apparatus, that find themselves at the center of this controversy. So, of course, one can't have a conversation around alleged political interference without talking about the ANC. One can't have a conversation about the ways in which the work of the security cluster has been impeded without talking about the ANC, especially if it's the ANC's members, if they're the ones that have the finger pointed at them for having influence, for having blocked, for having done whatever it is that they're accused of being doing to protect themselves and to protect others who they see as falling in line with their interests. So, of course, the ANC is going to be a topic of great conversation and discussion. And by all means, let's have the conversation. So we'll take you live to the NGC at the top of 10 and 11 o'clock. And that's where we're going to find my colleague Sakina Kamwendo as she's reporting from there. And we'll focus then on some of the themes that have been emerging out of the NGC. In the second hour of the show, after we touch base then with our team on the ground, we'll bring it back to studio. Um, we haven't had Brian Hirsch on the radio for over 2 months now because we have been taking the Commission of Inquiry. Today is the final opportunity for us to speak to Brian as we wrap up the year. So we're going to have one last segment with Brian Hirsch. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that because it'll be great to see Brian in studio, but also great to thank him for all of his effort throughout the year and of course to prepare then for a brand new year. And then the final hour of the show, when we come back from that NGC crossing, we're going to be in conversation with Professor Mark Swilling, and we're going to be looking at a new report from the National Planning Commission that is really trying to unpack the country's complex financial ecosystem and looking at where the opportunities are to not only transform our financial architecture, but to transform it in a way that is going to benefit more people so that we are able to address this big inequality problem that we have in our country. It is really one of the biggest crises that we are facing. How do we deal with inequality? And the National Planning Commission has been applying itself to this very issue. So Professor Mark Swilling will unpack this latest work and this latest research, and hopefully it will give us ideas, right, around from a policy point of view, what is it that the government really needs to start doing? I think there's so much for us to unpack. I don't know if how many of you have been following the Ngabinde Commission that has been taking place. And just yesterday, right? Just yesterday, yeah, some of these things, one just does not know what to say in the wake of some of the allegations and the questions that are put to these leaders who hold very high office. Yesterday, the NPA head, Shamila Batoy, was being cross examined at that inquiry that is looking into the fitness of Andrew Chauke to hold office as the Johannesburg prosecution's head, right? And when she was asked in relation to the matter around Johan Boysen, he is the former KwaZulu-Natal head of the Directorate for Priority Crimes Investigation. That's the Hawks. So basically, Shamila Batoy made the decision to withdraw charges against Boysen, which had been instituted against Boysen. And when she was asked about her reasons for having made this decision, right, about why it is that she withdrew the charges against Boysen, she said that those charges which Chauke had been pushing for against Boysen, there was a whole docket that had been put together. She said that she withdrew the charges against Boysen without having read the docket. She didn't read the docket. She didn't read the full facts of what was in that docket that informed the decision by Andrew Chauke to support charges being brought against Johan Boysen. She said she simply read the legal opinion and decided to go with that. And my reflection point here is I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty of did she make the right decision? Did she not make the right decision? But in as many weeks, in the last 2 weeks, she's the second official to admit before Commission of Inquiry that they have made significant decisions around individuals that fall under them without having given themselves time to fully brief themselves on the facts that they're dealing with. Is that an acceptable reason? Is that something that we as society must accept? Or is it just an easy reason for people to bring up now and defer taking accountability. Surely it's easier to say that I didn't read than it is to actually substantiate and to try and qualify the quality of one's decision making or lack thereof. It is something that is just so incredulous. Remember, just last week, we had Imogen Mashazi before the commission, also not having given herself time to appraise herself with some of the facts of the matters she was dealing with, admitting that she made decisions without really knowing what was in the content of that decision that she was making. Now, are we to accept that? Are we to believe that? Or is it just another way of deferring accountability yet again? Saying, I did not read, therefore I did not know, therefore I cannot fully be held accountable. That's part of what it says to me, but of course, I'll hear what you have to say about it. It is your National Roundtable, the open line. You can take your call. We'll be taking your calls. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107.
Now going to classify gender-based violence and femicide as a crisis.
This 16 days of activism, SAFM stands firm under the theme Letsema, men, women, boys and girls working together to end gender-based violence and femicide. Together, we can break the silence. Together, we can protect our communities. Speak out, report it, take action. SAFM says no to gender-based violence. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM's award-winning drama department presents to you the radio drama series Skyline.
Passage cockpit medical emergency now.
Cabin crew to your stations.
Where the skies promise adventure, but behind the cabin doors, untold secrets are found.
Signing on cheap cards they installed like it's nothing.
Catch the radio drama series every Saturday at 9 p.m. on SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
We're now going to classify gender-based violence and femicide as a crisis.
This 16 days of activism, SAFM stands firm under the theme Letsema, men, women, boys and girls working together to end gender-based violence and femicide. Together, we can break the silence. Together, we can protect our communities. Speak out, report it, take action. SAFM says no to gender-based violence. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Call us on 086 000 2032.
Okay. So the team had one up their sleeve a little bit. They had one up their sleeve. Yes, I'm a day late. They are not a day late. I'm a day late. But yeah, over the weekend, such good news, such good news. So I think was it last month? Sometime last month, I spoke about the nominations for the radio awards, and I really thanked my team, just for all of the hard work that they put into this show. And because I really think that their contribution is so significant. We wouldn't be able to do everything we do without them. So over the weekend, then, the good news is that out of those 3 nominations, we walked away with 2 awards. Yay! And it is the best talk show on PBS and also the best news and actuality show. So it's really quite exciting. We were so grateful for these two awards that recognize the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. And a big thank you to the team. I was babysitting this weekend, so I wasn't able to go and attend the awards. My kids were down with a bit of a cold as well, so the team had to go and have all of the fun on our behalf. But yeah, at the end of the year this year, I'm coming, guys. I'm going to order my evening dress now in December, getting ready for the radio awards 22 what day is next year? 2026, getting ready for radio awards 2026. So a big thank you again to the team for that acknowledgement, and to the radio awards, the Telkom radio awards, for recognizing and appreciating the work that we do.
No matter what, got money. And they say
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday. Call us on 086 000 2032.
To the phone lines then. Let me welcome onto the show our first caller for the morning. Lowered, you're in Alberton. Good morning, Lowered.
Good morning, Kathy, and then congratulations to Team for winning today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lowered. We appreciate it. What do you want to talk about this morning?
Good, my sister. ANC and and sister, I want to register my dismay with fascination by the misconduct some of the delegates how they found Comrade Madalamaku during his address. That has pointed to the fact that the ANC has within its myth, arrogance on the members who are not willing to follow them in money and originally. The deficiency in itself. We understand that the SACP in that Congress, they had a resolution that they are going to contest action on the side of the ANC. That cannot, it cannot be changed by the the overnight. Change the- So the issue of the NPCP decision contest the elections may obvious remains time or time discussing the topic. That is so it is the right place for the delegates and the members alike to discuss on this. How do we navigate this way? Because, and my sister, the communists are very, very critical of this plan. And the point of this one, that's it is being talked about. Document that was which is in the communist members. So I'm sure the members, the delegates, they will try to start to compose themselves to deliberate and discuss about issues. But they must be, they have to contend with the situation at hand that they cannot change this resolution which was passed by Congress. So that is
Yeah,
my.
look, and I guess, Lowered, it was always going to be one of those things that becomes a point of contention, right? Because we know
correct.
that the ANC itself is not fully behind the SACP in this decision. So it's really down to how the dissatisfaction finds
Yes.
expression and finds and manifests itself really in some of
Yeah.
these big gatherings, and how some members find these big gatherings as an opportunity to
Yes.
further register their dissatisfaction with the decision. So
Good.
it might
Yes.
be important that
Yeah.
things have played themselves out the way that they have, so that
Yes.
it creates an opportunity to deal with these issues
Yes.
before next
Yeah.
year,
Yes.
when both of
Yeah.
these entities will be faced with elections and then having to do what they said
Yes.
that they would do, which is the SACP contesting elections on their own, the ANC
Good.
contesting elections on its own, but also how then those with dual membership, how
Yes.
that
Yes.
issue
Yes. Yes.
is
Yes.
going to be
Correct.
dealt with.
Yeah.
Surely that
Yes.
is very much something that should be a
It
subject
really is.
of
It really is.
this NGC as well. Let's
It
take the
really is.
latest news
Okay.
headlines. I'm back with more of your calls and your voice notes.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, 3 people have been killed in a shack fire in the Blowy informal settlement in Khayelitsha on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Wesley Twigg says the bodies of the deceased were found in the debris after the fire services extinguished the blaze. KwaZulu-Natal MEC for Education Sipho Hlomoka has welcomed the findings by the Special Investigating Unit into the awarding of a contract for chemical toilets in 2020. The SIU found the contract, valued at over R2.5 million, was awarded irregularly to the service provider and extended unlawfully. And US President Donald Trump has announced a $12 billion aid package for American farmers affected by low crop prices and his own trade policies. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Kathy, my princess, and your colleague. Good morning to you. Good morning to your team. Congratulations! Yebo, 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 yebo. Of all accusations towards you guys, congratulations, congratulations. It's Uncle JJ, the truck driver. We are not going to take you to Madlanga Commission to see how you won those awards, but I'd like to say congratulations, and I'll help you to buy that dress for 2026. I want to see you nicely wearing nicely like a Nigerian cat. It's Uncle JJ.
Morning, Kathy. Andy from Cape Town. You know, this Shamila Batoy is just a wasteful 5 years of her in the office doing nothing, and just you can see. And it even answer yesterday. The chair of that commission ended up saying, "This is your report. What do you say about it?" I don't know, Kathy. That lady, just, I don't know. It's one of those women that always have respect with women, and I'm not against women. We need women leadership, which give us the belief and trust that our country move forward. Picking up all this Mazanga and this lady, this grace, Kathy, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going in this country? This country is going down to the grave, especially from the ANC officials. I'm very angry, so frustrated. Andy from Cape Town. Thank you. Bye bye.
Congratulations, SKP. Congratulations to the team, SAF. Congratulations, guys. Well done, well done. SKP. You know, scholar is criticizing his fellow ANC members who are, you know, booing and striking. These people are not paid. And I wonder, what is that Benchmore Hotel? Who owns it, SKP? Why is it that their meetings they are always done there? And by the way, are they paid for these for their services that they paid? Because the workers are not paid. So why can they not show their grievances there?
Housekeep, good morning. It's Kosnat here. Hey, look, my sister, I'm very, very disappointed with the ANC if they want to revive themselves, telling us that they want to revive themselves. This is not because ANC is the one that is implicated in each and every corruption that is here in South Africa. And that thing of saying a person is not guilty if ever the court does not find him guilty. This thing is not right because it's the mask that they was created by them in order to cover them in all this corruption.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
All right. Well, thank you for those WhatsApp voice notes. We'll continue to take more of your voice notes on 0614 104 107. That's where you can send your WhatsApp voice notes to on 0614 104 107. You are listening to the National Roundtable. I'll take your calls on 086 000 2032. A question around the ANC members that were picketing outside the Birchwood Hotel yesterday around their salaries. The understanding there is that many of the staffers have now been paid. But the issue that they were raising was that they often get paid their salaries late. And sometimes the organization is not making contributions. So, not making contributions to medical aid, not making contributions to provident funds. And this is the issue of contention where workers feel that they're being taken for granted. Also, in the same breath, President Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday urging the party's members to be humble and not to publicly show off their wealth. I don't know. Why must they hide it? Why must they hide it? Why? Why must they hide it? Because they must flaunt it so that we can see exactly what is happening to some of the taxpayer money in this country. They must flaunt it so that SARS knows exactly where to go to ask questions. They must flaunt it so that when individuals are before commissions like the Matlanga inquiry, then they must then still justify how, despite being on executive salaries, right, even if it's for decades on end, 20, 10, 20 years, how are you able to afford a 33 million rand house and a 22 million rand house and a 20 million rand house? How are you able to afford it? How are you able to afford a Lamborghini, Bentleys, BMWs? No, they must explain to us. How are they able to afford to, in a single day, wake up and be dressed in clothes close on 5 million rand? So, Mr. President, they shouldn't hide it. They must flaunt the money. They must flaunt the money and show South Africans how they have been enriching themselves at the cost of roads being built, at the cost of hospitals being capacitated, at the cost of this country working, and even at the cost of their own organization. Because if ANC members can't be paid and are paid late, but they can live in houses worth 33 million without a problem, then that also reveals the true state of not only this country, but the organization itself. And don't they ask themselves in the parking lot, like, when are you driving a Lamborghini, when are you in a Bentley? It's like, ow, how did you get it? Kanti you are just an ordinary member, or maybe you're part of the NEC. Are these not the things that the conversations that they have at NGCs? Surely there must be that level of accountability. Oh, what are you up to these days? I see that you're at gate 6 in Waterfall. What are you doing, my brother or my sister, that I need to do as well? Because I would also like a young gate 6 in Waterfall. But if they ignore it, how are we ever going to solve some of the problems we have? Dwaisa, you're calling from Ezingolweni. Good morning.
Yo, good morning, Sister and SFM listeners. No. They must encourage to show off their wealth, and then they must be too, like then right now we are not listening.
No,
Okay,
I
so
agree with you, Dwaisa. They
yeah,
must be encouraged. Everybody must come out and show us what they have so that we
yeah,
can see the fullness of what has been taken from this country.
let them show off their Lamborghinis and your everything. Let them show off. We have no problem. We have seen it anyway. We've seen it on. And if it's a mistake today, obviously, I think Congress are in order for the accolades. You guys are the best. Hence, we are tuning into this radio and nothing else. My take today is on electoral. I think she has failed NPA Suleiman. I don't understand, Sister, why this day. He hasn't said anything. He hasn't charged either Johnson for her openly telling us before the ad hoc committee that she was in the panel that processed the interviews, and not only that, it ended up recommending and hiring her husband into the job. And the next charge to me will be the same as the charge of General Simelane. The crime is force. And already right now there's an option by I think one organization. I think the sort of thing of advocacy. I think the same must be done to Andrea Johnson. Otherwise, there's an application of double standard.
You
So
know,
that's
Dwaisa, it's about credibility, isn't it? That how
exactly.
credible can you be regarded when you are admitting on the record to have made decisions, such, by the way, serious decisions, because she can't say she was unaware of just how
No.
controversial a matter the Johan Boysen issue was and how significant a decision it would be, whether to continue with prosecution or whether to withdraw. She knew the weight of that matter.
Exactly. And the irony is in this thing of Andrea Johnson. Obviously, she's eyeing the same job as Camilla Patoy. Is it interesting? Is it incredible?
Yeah,
And she has just kept quiet.
I was fascinated by how Parliament sort of dealt with that in the ad hoc committee because they really did get her to make some crucial concessions around the ethics and the morality of having been part of those processes through which her husband was appointed. But for me, it still feels like it's an issue that's hanging because now that we know what we know, should things remain the same? Should that decision not come under review?
Exactly before we know it, she will be hired for the same Shamina life.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's incredible. It's incredible. That's
Yeah.
all I can say.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. Joyce, I can't disagree with you. I can't disagree with you one bit. Arthur and Pongolo, you also want to pick up on the same issue.
Yes.
Doing well, Arthur. Thank you.
I just want to keep the interview. I still keep appointment. I believe one